them dead. After this, them dead. Yo, them a go get 5 in a row. What? Come where they go beat them back. What? The 5-star general of this thing locks up an election day. We are voting back. Them a go get 5 in a row. What? Come where they go beat them back. What? The 5-star general is the leaks boss. When the bell ring, one more cutter. Well, them all have practice and a chat comments. The ULP team, we are dealing with progress. Ralph are the best man for that process. So we are the closest, them are the furthest. ULP lock this thing like a fortress. NDP shaky, she be in distress. Some of them baseless, the rest them clueless. But when come to Ralph, him are the realest. So we are gonna beat them back. What? Them are gonna get 5 in a row. What? The 5-star general of this thing locks up an election day. We are voting back. Come where they gonna beat them back. What? Them are gonna get 5 in a row. What? The 5-star general is the leaks boss. When the bell ring, come on, tell them.
My background.
Tell Friday.
My background.
Tell them what you say.
My background. But I tell you this, I'm an ancient warrior. My background.
Tell Major.
My background.
Go cross the border.
My background. I'm a hard man for them.
Them a bowl outside the house down
Waste.
and way too far down the left side.
Wide.
If you ask me, the whole of them outside. That's why they can't get free out. Can't get free out. Them not a policy if we move us forward. If them ever win the whole country gone backward. Union to make way fancy to leave what you will be moving upward. Them a go get 5 in a row. What? Come where they go beat them back. What? The 5-star general of this thing locks up an election day. We are voting back. Them a go get 5 in a row. What? Come where they go beat them back. What? The 5-star general is the leaks boss. When the bell ring, one more cutters. Tell them.
My background.
Tell Friday.
My background.
Tell them what you say.
My background. But I tell you this, I'm an ancient warrior. My background.
Tell Major.
My background.
Go cross the border.
My background. I'm a hard man for them.
So let me want them. After this, them dead. Dead. After this, them dead. Them dead. After this, them dead. When the bell ring, the whole of them dead. Dead. After this, them dead. Dead. After this, them dead. Them dead. After this, them dead. Bell a ring in a them head. Them a go get 5 in a row. What? Come where they go beat them back. What? The 5-star general of this thing locks up an election day. We are voting back. Them a go get 5 in a row. What? Come where they go beat them back. What? The 5-star general is the leaks boss. When the bell ring, one more cutters.
ULP is better. ULP is better. ULP is better, better by far. ULP is better. ULP is better. ULP is better, better by far. St. Vincent and the Grenadine. I'm telling you, ULP is the better team. Creating opportunities so you can get your dream. One day at a time, we improving SVG. St. Vincent and the Grenadine. I'm telling you, ULP is the better team. Creating opportunities so you can get your dream. One day at a time, we improving SVG. ULP is better. ULP is better. ULP is better, better by far. ULP is better. ULP is better. ULP is better, better by far. I love my island called St. Vincent. To improve my country, that's my intent. Well, ULP have new projects to invent. So let's come together, cause unity is strength. ULP better by far, ULP different. To me, NDP is insufficient. So vote ULP, they magnificent. Let's build our island, live for love, St. Vincent. ULP is better, ULP is better. ULP is better, better by far. ULP is better, ULP is better. ULP is better, better by far. So everyone, let's vote the ULP. Let's vote the ULP. Let's vote the ULP. That's my encouragement. Let's vote the ULP. Let's vote the ULP. Let's vote the ULP. And keep them in government. Let's vote the ULP. Let's vote the ULP. Let's vote the ULP. That's my encouragement. Let's vote the ULP. Let's vote the ULP. Let's vote the ULP. And keep them in government. ULP is better. ULP is better. ULP is better, better by far. ULP is better. ULP is better. ULP is better, better by far. ULP is better.
Stony grounds we standing strong. No man's virgin, Gibson Carter, spring on her hometown plan.
The flag when me waving red, pants and me shirt it red. Only color I know is red. All me house and me car it red. So rather I'm voting red. Let me see your voting finger. Voting time, no time to linger. Show me your hand if you're voting for Labour. It's voting time, we ready. We voting teacher Debbie. We ready and we steady. We voting teacher Debbie. It's voting time, we ready. We voting teacher Debbie. We ready and we steady. We voting teacher Debbie. Teacher Debbie don't cuss. Teacher Debbie don't fuss. Voting teacher Debbie is a plus. You and the L and the B with us. It's true. It's a serious voting teacher Debbie. You're building lives, building hope. If you vote any other, you're voting Joe. In our West Kingstown. We don't vote Joe, we voting teacher Debbie. 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 We voting. Human church we voting. But they got dying joking. For a better nation we voting. Only teacher Debbie. We voting 4 in a row. It's Kingstown reloading. The flag when we waving red. Pants on me shirt it red. Only color I know is red.
Now elections are called when we go out to vote. Comrade, we will consider your name. We will always remember the gifts from your love. 'Cause you always love us the same. And comrade, we will be voting you till you're 70 and more. Oh. And in our hearts, we forever grateful will always be. And I'm thinking about how people fall in love with the ULP. And I know it's a love from the heart. With the ULP, I fall in love every single day. And I just wanna say who I am. So come on now, take us into your loving care. Keep us under the light of the shining star. Place our love in your beating heart. I'm thinking about love. People, we found love right where we are. When your time is about gone and your memories won't fade. 'Cause we'd always remember your name. When you can give us the things we
I have a song to send the NDP mad. Tell them labor only with blood, labor only with soul. Talk if you want, I don't care, 'cause labor in control. Ring the bell, let we send them home. Comrade, ring the bell, let we send them home. Oh, ring the bell, let we send them home. Julian, ring the bell, let we send them home. Let me jump and say 5 in a row, 5 in a row. 5 in a row. They want to know how people have come and so 5 in a row. 5 in a row. 5 in a row. Whoa! Oh, breaking news. Breaking news. Vincent Chan said the NDP they're going to refuse. Oh, breaking news. Hey, breaking news. tell Matthew. Ring the bell, let we send them home. Comrade, ring the bell, let we send them home. Oh, ring the bell, let we send them home. Julian, ring the bell, let we send them home. Let me jump and say 5 in a row, 5 in a row, 5 in a row. They want to know how people love comrades, so 5 in a row, 5 in a row, 5 in a row. Oh, the NDP say like them in a shamble. So they send Canada for my partner to scramble. But look how going to make him run and start to scramble. They must be think politics is like casino gamble. Ring the bell, let we send them home. Comrade, ring the bell, let we send them home. Oh, ring the bell, let we send them home. Julian, ring the bell, let we send them home. Let me jump and say 5 in a row, 5 in a row, 5 in a row. Why they do cocky silver so 5 in a row, 5 in a row, 5 in a row. Whoa, NDP dead, them dead already. Send them up New Haven or down by F already. Hey, NDP dead, them dead already. Oh, comrades sending them in the cemetery. So ring the bell, let we send them home. Comrade, ring the bell, let we send them home. Oh, ring the bell, let we send them home. Julian, ring the bell, let we send them home. Tell them labor all in we blood, labor all in we soul. Talk if you want, I don't care, cause labor in control. Tell them labor all in me blood, labor all in me soul. Cause if you want, I vote in labor until I hold. Nature want to study archaeology. He better study on me now for going to PT. And send Charlie what get an energetic rooster. Randy go strip Exeter just like a rooster. Ring the bell, let we send them home. Comrade, ring the bell, let we send them home. Oh, ring the bell, let we send them home. Julian, ring the bell, let we send them home. Let me jump and say 5 in a row, 5 in a row, 5 in a row. We go exile NDP to Bali, so 5 in a row, 5 in a row, 5 in a row. Why they do cocky silver so? Ring the bell, let we send them home. Ring the bell, let we send them home. Oh, ring the bell, let we send them home. Ring the bell, let we send them home. 5 in a row.
You will be going to win this election, but not on a Friday. Yo, yo, yo. You will bring me safe anywhere you're there. Hey. Come in a band, man. Election day, when I'm off me ex, I know some of me friends, some of them go vex. When I put me ex next to the star, I know NDP, they go start a war. From the time they hear my song, oh my lordy lord, I know the ULPD coming in, strong. Vinci people, how are you answer? Answer labor, recession people, how are you answer? ULP better. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. From the time they hear my song, oh my lordy lord, I know the ULPD coming in, strong. Princy people, how are you answer? Answer labor, recession people, how are you answer? ULP better. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. From the time they hear my song, oh my lordy lord, I know the ULPD coming in, coming in strong, 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 strong. Wave my people, wave your rags. Labour people, wave your flags. Wave my people, wave your rags. ULP people, raise up your flags. Election day, when I mark me X, I know some me friends, some of them go vex. When I put me X next to the star, I know NDP, they will start a war. From the time they hear my song, oh my lordy lord, I know the ULP they coming in, coming in, coming in, strong, 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 strong. Not the war. Hey, how are you answer? Answer labor, not win war. How are you answer? Answer labor, answer. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor. Look how we right ya, still voting for labor.
Good night to all listeners, to the various radio stations, to all of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to all those who are locked in via the World Wide Web, to this Unity Labour Party's third virtual meeting. Once again, we come to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to bring forward our programs and our policies and to have a continued dialogue and discussion with you and to present candidates of 4 particular constituencies which I would name to conduct that dialogue with the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. A virtual meeting, but a real meeting. A meeting with facts. A meeting with programs. A meeting that dictates our policy over the years and going forward. But as usual, the Unity Labour Party believes strongly in the divine presence of Almighty God. And as all things that we do, we give him his honor and his glory. And so I would ask Comrade Sister Debbie Charles to take us to the throne of Almighty God in prayer.
Gracious God and loving Father, tonight we come before you. We just want to thank you for your mercies and your goodness that you have given to us during the past hours of today. As we come before you at this time, Lord, we crave your indulgence in what is going to happen here tonight. And we pray, oh Father, that you would guide our thoughts, guide our lips, guide the lips of those who would speak and present before the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Father, we acknowledge your goodness. We acknowledge what you have been able to do through us as a government. And we ask, dear Father, that as we go forth for a 5th term, that your ever-presence would be with each member of this ULP team. And as we present, oh God, keep each of us and our families close so that we would recognize that nothing can be done except you work through us. Because you have said, a house that is not built on you is a house that would fall. Kind Father, we ask that you would continue to be with our leader, the Prime Minister of this country. Be with his family too. And dear God, I know that I cannot pray as much for him because I do not know what is happening with him. But I know that you, the all-knowing and all-seeing God, the God who has been a balm in Gilead, would take care of all the problems according to your will. So continue to bless each of us and our households, we beg. And bless the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. I just want to ask that you remain standing while we acknowledge our state and our country within playing of the national anthem, please.
St. St. Vincent land so beautiful, with joyful hearts we pledge to thee our loyalty and love, and vow to keep you ever free. Whatever the future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true. High rule of fear and blessed isle, your mountains high, so clear and green, are home to me. Though I may stray, our heaven comes serene. Whate'er the future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true. Our little sister islands are those gems, the lovely grenadines, upon their seas and gold and sun, the sunshine ever beam. Whate'er the future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true.
Thank you very much. Here we go. Here we go. Thanks, Eminem, for the sweet little piece of rendition. Tonight, the ULP machine is on the road. Tonight, we're doing it again. And we're doing it, only the ULP could do it, and only the ULP know how to do it. The people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines gave this great party the Ship of State in 2001. They repeated it in 2005 and in 2010 and 2015. There is no reason why the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will not do this again. And hear what? The people ain't ready to roll back what they did until they see completion.
Coming up, man, man.
On the platform here with me tonight, I have some men of worth and merit, of proper caliber. I have experience and I have youth. I have a multiplicity of talent here on this stage with me tonight. I wonder if I should start from the youngest up or start from the eldest down. Notice I didn't say oldest. Yeah. But yes. But what I have here is that I have experience, trusted, tried, tested in none other than Comrade Montgomery Daniel, who is, well, we call him the Carib Chief, the parliamentary representative for the constituency of North Windward. and who, when the bell rings, will once again do the same thing. And I hear the bell ringing with relation to whoever come in North Windward. Montgomery will do the dog on them. And then we have the parliamentary representative for the constituency of East St. George. I want to go into the whole set of accolades. But here what happened last election, he was able to pool the largest quantity of votes in the last 2015 elections. Give him a little thing for that.
Coming in stronger than ever.
That ain't gonna be easy to erase and handle. The lady ain't want nothing with that. And then I have a baby face. He representing the beautiful islands of the Northern Grenadines. Beckway and Mustique. Comrade Carlos Williams. Some might say a new kid on the block. That's what they feel. That's for those who don't know. But for those of us who have been around, and he will get the opportunity to tell you that he has been here for quite some time. And when a man by this time and his turn come, he's stronger than ever.
Coming in stronger than ever. We're coming in stronger than ever.
And then somebody else going to join me on the platform in a little while. And that's going to be Luke Browne, who is the caretaker, currently the Minister of Health, and caretaker for the constituency of East Kingstown. And that is the man I wait until he come to game whenever I introduce him. But tonight, I don't know how Montgomery is still sitting down here. Because what they said is that Shearer win the last election. He win the North Windward seat. But they ain't run him back again. Well, if a man win, so why you won't run him back again? He win and you get rid of him, and Montgomery still here. Well, that is what we heard from the Yellow Army, they call it. Oh, I said yellow, somebody tell me it's white. I'm confused. I am confused. Yes, there had to be a surrender army because white is a representation of surrender. I don't know which part they're going with it, and I don't know who says white. Somebody said that, oh, you know they changed the color to white. I said, but who said so? The political leader? I expect the political leader to say that. But then, like the political leader didn't even know. You are so correct. The political leader, like he was surprised when he hear it coming. You understand? From the wind, out of the wind, just so. Yes. You see, one of the things, it shows the shortcomings in leadership. You see, if you have an army of sheep that is led by a lion, the army could win. But you see, if you have an army of lions that led by a sheep, they're dead.
After this, them
They're
dead.
dead.
After this, them dead.
After this, they're dead.
After this, them dead. After this, them dead. After this,
And we keeping this meeting, we don't want to go over a particular time frame here. We're doing this thing nice. So I'm going to waste no more time in calling the first presenter to come to the podium and to speak to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The veteran, none other than the comrade Montgomery Daniel, who has been the parliamentary representative since 2001. Come, comrade. Come, comrade. Want to make some noise, please, at this meeting? Make some noise at this meeting. I don't want that. Shake it up, shake it up.
I know NDP, they will start a war from the time they hear my song. Oh, my lordy lord, I know the ULPD coming in, strong, Vincy people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. Let me first of all say good night to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and to the most beautiful constituency in this country, North Windward. Tonight, I stand before you with honor and gratitude as the ULP's candidate for the constituency of North Windward in the upcoming general elections. And so, I want to thank the Constituency Council of North Windward for recommending me as a candidate for the upcoming general elections. And equally, to thank the Central Executive for its endorsement at this time.
One more for Montgomery. One more.
North Windward.
One more for Montgomery.
North Windward, I love you. It's a constituency that I love from the depths of my heart. Through thick and thin, since 2001, we have been together. I've never left you. I've never forsaken you. And so, I will continue to be with you for the next 5 years as your representative of that constituency, making it 5 in a row.
We stand strong. Yeah, we stand strong.
Let me say that born and grew up in the indigenous communities of the constituency, I firmly appreciated my historical past. The British, who fought my foreparents, they took away their land, they captured them, enslaved them to an extent, and treated them as second-class citizens in their own homeland. And up until the 80s and 90s, the constituency was still marginalized and was poor to modern civilization. And even until today, there is a small minority here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who continue to introduce and abuse the people in that constituency, similar like the British did in the 16th century. So sad. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is now an independent state, and everyone have a free will. But over the years, what we have seen, I want to say to you, thanks to the ULP government who came to office in 2001 and who would have recognized the values and the oneness of a people who suffered long and hard. Mr. Chairman, the people of the constituency of North Windward is no better than anyone else. But no one else is better than us. And given equal opportunities, we can do as good or even better. Joseph Chatouille was identified as our first national hero. And that is because of his strength. That is because of his bravery. And he came out of the bowels of the Garifuna communities of this country. Pamela's Ballantyne, the best long-distance runner in this country. He dominated long-distance running throughout the Caribbean as well. He too was from the Garifuna community of Sandy. Michelle St. Anton, 2018 Carnival Queen. She too came from the bowels of the Garifuna community.
When I look at where I'm coming from, I know I'm blessed.
And I will say to you, Fire Empress, even her grandparents came from the bowels of the Garifuna community of Sandy. She too dominated calypso and culture in this country. And I can go on. I can go on. But when I look and see what has happened over the years, and I look at the great North America, the great United States of America, dominated by whites, I ask the question, do Black lives matter? If it does, then why the people of the Garifuna communities continued to be traduced like this? Nelson Mandela, he served prison for 27 years because of his black color. Was it right? Was it just for him to be spending 27 years in prison? No, not at all. And so I reflect on a beautiful song written by Chalk Dust. They just didn't get the message as yet. But as a people, we will stand for our justice, equality, and fair play, for we have nothing to lose. And so, the ULP, which has given human service, human support, and recognition to the indigenous peoples of this country, we said thanks to the ULP administration. And that is why for this election, 2020, we are going to lift St. Vincent and the Grenadines higher and higher.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed every day of my life. I'm impressed.
In 2001, when I came as the representative of this constituency of North Windward, conditions were indeed terrible. And I reflect on the Kyrie's consultant report, which was handed out in 1997. That report pointed to the fact that indigent poverty nationally stood at 27%. But in the constituency of North Windward, indigent poverty, according to the report, stood at 67%. Yet, the NDP administration at that time continued on a path to close the sugar industry that provided jobs for some 2,000 persons. The Orange Hill estate was closed. An entity that provided jobs for some 450 persons. The arrowroot industry was finally sold in March 2001, before the elections. All these job-creating avenues all went under the last administration. The report further indicated that in 2001, that's the Kyrie consultant report, it further indicated that 39% of our secondary school children went to secondary school. But in the constituency of North Windward, 19% went to secondary school. And the report also indicated that the dropout rate was up to 65% in some cases. It meant, therefore, that some 7 to 8 persons actually complete secondary education. For me, it begs the question, if that is the case, what are the grades that those who finish school, what grades would they have had? It reminds me that there was a young man from the village of Uwea, where in 1994, brilliant young man, he got the opportunity to have gone to the St. Vincent Grammar School. And at Form 4, he was a dropout. His parents could not continue to support him. There was no one else around who would have accepted that challenge. There was no support systems in the government administration to assist. This gentleman, who was either first or second in his class, had to leave school at Form 4. But through the policies of the government, after the ULP came to office in 2001, where the policy for adult education was established, this gentleman went to evening classes. He got the required subjects. He went to the teachers' training school, training college. And today he is a teacher at the Sandy Bay Primary School.
The revolution in education shows you building a new foundation. So let me applaud the ULP for a job well done here in this country.
He is now pursuing his degree at the University of the West Indies. So, kudos to the education revolution. Today, the constituency of North Windward can boast of a secondary school where all of the children are now going to secondary school. And I can say to you this year, the school has given us, through its CXC exams results, a pass rate of 71%. It's a school that was started with a board structure, and many condemned the structure of the school. But I always say it is not the structure of the school, but what takes place in that school. And so I want to commend all the teachers at that school for a job well done. Equally, prior coming to government in 2001, the housing conditions, especially in the Garifuna communities, were indeed terrible. Board structures dominated the housing in that area. And even on the estate, chattel houses were used at that time. But I want to say to you, that is a thing of the past. For today, the housing policy of this government has seen many families benefiting from either the no-income housing policy, the low-income housing policy, or the middle-income housing policy. And even you did not share in that. The young professionals, they also are benefiting from a 100% mortgage at all of the commercial banks.
Too far to turn back now. Too far to turn back now.
The old, the aged, and the needy, they are benefiting from the Lives to Live program. A program that I can walk along the streets of Kingstown and I would hear someone say, "Thank you, Mr. Daniel." Because I always know that in this thing you call politics, there's never a thank you. But yet, there are one or two persons who would meet me on the road and say, "Thank you, Mr. Daniel. Thank you for what you have done." Equally, those who have not benefited from all of those programs, there has been the material distribution program where thousands have benefited throughout St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so, I want to commend the HLDC, the Housing and Land Development Corporation, for the tremendous work they have done over the years, ensuring that this country would have seen approximately 1,900 houses built within the last 20 years this government is in office.
And if SPG higher, NDP after this list, you must retire.
I also want to say to you that since 2001, the institutions of this state has worked well for the government, worked well for the nation as a whole. And the Physical Planning Department, which is the department that continues to make the ministry proud, their work is to ensure orderly conduct of our nation's development. But I want to say to you, as minister with the responsibility of physical planning, I have not any day, any night, intervened into the day-to-day operations and duties of that department, so that I personally do not have to go and involve myself in the knocking down of public or private property wherever. If I do that, my leader and my party, my government will be mad at me. I will never do that. Over the years, the ministry continued to regularize several communities all across St. Vincent and the Grenadines, ensuring that communities are regularized and building lots are made available to homeowners in this country. With all of this, we just can't turn back now. Chanel made it clear, we can't turn back. Prior to 2007, access to the constituency of North Windward was indeed terrible. And crossing the number of rivers was indeed a nightmare. Many lives, many properties were lost at the Rabaka River. Today, under this administration, many bridges were built, including that of the Rabaka River. This is a government that cares. So under the ULP administration, the constituency of North Windward and the wider St. Vincent and the Grenadines have benefited from the many initiatives, policies, and programs that have been laid out over the last 20 years. The education revolution. This has transformed many societies. The establishment of a secondary school in Sandy Bay. We are proud of it. The housing revolution, where 1,900 homes would have been built. HLDC, kudos to you. Through the social services programs established under the Ministry of Social Development, thousands would have benefited from the programs, including the YES program, the SET program, public assistance program, the Life to Live program, and many more. We have seen the revival and the revitalization of the arrowroot industry, where this year 127 farmers benefited from payouts of $1.7 million. We would have seen improvement in networks of road, particularly from Georgetown to Fancy and a number of village roads. We would have seen the establishment of a fishing complex at Owea. Boats have it now easier for its boating. And the facility employs approximately 42 persons at any one time. We'd have seen the refurbishing and the rebuilding of the Owea Police Station and the Owea Primary School. We'd have seen the establishment of a training institute at Orange Hill, particularly at the time when the banana industry was in deep trouble. We had to ensure that we retrain our farmers to meet the competitiveness that was facing the agricultural sector. We would have distributed hundreds of building lots in that constituency. We built a learning resource center at Sandy Bay, where adult and continuing education can be had. We have built and established a sea defense at Langley Park, and we have established preschools at Owea and Langley Park. And so as we go forward in our 5th term, the constituency will continue to see further progress and development in the following areas. The building of a new secondary school at Sandy Bay. The building of a new arrowroot factory at Orange Hill. We would establish a city fence at Sandy Bay. We would consolidate the operations at Langley Park, at the boxing plant, for the purchase of farmers' produce. We will create further linkages between our indigenous peoples across the world. We will further have expansion of the housing program. We will twin the medical marijuana industry with the arrowroot industry. We'll continue to distribute housing lots. We'll continue to have housing programs being built, we would establish a playing field at Langley Park so that we will be able to move on. And so, comrades, your government has done well. Your representative has done tremendously well, leaving an indelible mark for those to come. So, I want to ask of you, on election day, go out and vote Labour, for your future is better with Labour. I want to say to you, with Labour, your tomorrow will be greater than today. I know we would have seen the establishment of the Argyle International Airport and many hotels to come. But I say to you, vote Labour, for your tomorrow will be brighter than today. North Windward for 2020, in its elections we say, go high, go low, it is 5 in a row. Go high, go low, it's 5 in a row.
From the 5-star general, 5 in a row. From the 5-star general, 5 in a row. From the
5 in a row, 5 in a row. Go high, go low. Yeah, boy.
From the 5-star,
somebody ringing the bell all the time. You want to get this thing over with and move on to lift St. Vincent and the Grenadines higher. I know you're anxious and you're waiting for the bell. You see, tonight here what's happening, Montgomery declare that the constituency of North Windward is the most beautiful constituency in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And he may very well be right, you know. He just may. But he might be second, he might be third. But introducer now, you see, this speaker who comes from, how to put this thing? He comes from the bowels of Labour. That's where he comes from. He would have been in and around this party for many years. But he got here thief. He went to Beckway for holidays. And he didn't come back up. Because the constituency nice. The constituency nice. And I ain't staying long. I want to bring Carlos Williams. I want my comrades to give Carlos a rousing welcome as he makes his maiden speech here at this virtual meeting. Welcome, young man. Welcome, young man.
Right now, my country making progress.
Comrades,
which means the leader is
Labour now. Labour now. Thank you very much, comrade, for your kind introduction. But Snaggy, I tell you this, hashtag, the frustrated. The surrendering, hashtag. White flag, hashtag. White flag, hashtag.
On them with red, 5 straight, bury the dead, them think we weary.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is a mix of blackfish and whale oil, stronger than ever. St. Vincent and Grenadines, noble citizens of St. Vincent, Beckway, St. Mustique. It is indeed for me an honor. It is a privilege. And I pause to say to you how much grateful I am for this opportunity to be here. I am humbled, I'm honored. I, this evening, want to especially say a pleasant good evening to the hard-working men and women of the Northern Grenadines. Mustique, Beckway, pleasant good evening. All the Beckwayans, those from Mustique in diaspora, around the world, a pleasant good evening to you. Snaggy, permit me at this point just to express condolences to a few families in Beckway. The family of the late Alma Oliver, who passed away just a few days ago So too the family of the late Novena Beanie Frederick. These are labor ladies. These are women of labor who had passed on. Great women of labor. Also the family of Julian Simmons. I express condolences on behalf of myself, family, the leadership of this party, Dr. Gonsalve, General Sec Snaggy, and the others within the leadership. I express condolences, and I say to you that you are not alone as you grieve. The Unity Labour Party is also grieving with you, and you are not alone. I am indeed very humbled to be here with you in person, among all of you, lovers of labor. It is indeed an honor. And to be on this platform with these noble servants, these servants of St. Vincent, of the people of St. Vincent the Grenadines, I am indeed honored. But who am I? Who is Carlos Williams? You may ask. You may have heard that I've been a Barong labor for many years. But who really is Carlos Williams? The Carlos Williams, as I often will emphasize, to make that distinction between this Carlos Williams from Barley and the other Carlos Williams is, I'm emphasizing that. I hail from Barley, Blackfish Tongue. So whaling is in my DNA. And I moved from Barley to Beckway. Whaling is still in my DNA. You know? The bigger whale. You know? The oil. I grew up having a very humble background, very poor family. The thing is like a typical, I'm a simple Vincentian boy. Grew up from country, and I say Leeward country. Went to school in Barley, went to church in Barley. The community of Barley raised me. I am a product of that community. A very proud product of Barley. Very early in my life, I don't know what Sir Louis would have saw, but when he entered the political stage here in St. Vincent, he came to Barley, and for some reason he sort of singled me out and called me out and said, yes, you young man, I want you to be part of what I'm doing, part of labor. And maybe it was naiveness, or I don't know, perhaps. I listened to him, and I teamed with him from 1994 until now, I would say. I entered politics with him in a more personal way in 1998, and then later in 2001. In 1998, I mounted the first political platform, Snaggy, for Sir Louis in Barley. And my cousin, Monica Coombs, we all know who Monica Coombs is. When I went to school the next day, I'll just say this, she called me and she said, young man, don't tell me that was you I heard out there. I said to her, miss, it wasn't me. It was somebody else. She said, I know you're boasting because both of you are from the same family. And it's because of that boastingness why today I stand here before you, the people of St. Vincent the Grenadines, with this opportunity to represent.
We coming in stronger than ever.
So the thing is, I have been involved since then with politics. In 2001, the general election as the National Youth President, the first manifesto which was rolled out relative to the youth arm, we would have spearheaded that under the guidance of General Sec, the PM, and everybody, and the other leadership then, Sir Louis and the others. I worked with Sir Louis, close to him as his liaison community person in Barley, so I would have had the opportunity to left a mark and legacy in Barley relative to the Blackfish project was spearheaded and was pushed by me. The communal facility in Butler and Glass was also done and pushed by. A number of footpaths and a number of other things I would have done through my relationship with Sir Louis. And Sir Louis would have mentored me well. I remember when he returned as the Terminator, I said perhaps his intention then was to get me, to be the person to succeed him. But I think Snaggy, I had a sort of a drop on him. You know, so whatever perhaps he may have planned for did not happen. You know, because I beat him at that game. But he did. He saw something. And he said to me, he said, listen, I came back for a few things. I must finish the Blackfish project. I must give the people that. I must give the people the consumer bill. And the third thing, I must give them you. So I laughed. But today he is smiling. He is happy. Because I guess he would have accomplished his 3 unfinished tasks. So I have been his youth president. I've been chair of the Northern Grenadines Constituency Council for many years as well. I have co-founded and chaired the Beckway Onshore Committee, which is responsible for the revitalization of Easter on Beckway that we have heard so much about. So that is just a brief. I don't like talking about myself. I let others do that. You know, I don't like talking about myself. So indeed, Snaggy, people of St. Vincent and Grenadines, it is really an honor, an opportunity. It is this moment to speak from my heart, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk from my heart to the people of Northern Grenadines, a people that I have grown over the years to love and to become them, because they have embraced me as I have embraced them. They have shown me the kind of love that I won them from Barley, whether or not if I stayed in Barley, I would have. Seen that kind of, I like to say a prophet honor in his land, but the people of Northern Grenadines, the people of Beckway, who are a very resilient kind of a people, you know, they are happy kind of a people. They have embraced this bagger boy. They have embraced who they will consider as a stranger to be their very own. And I've promised the people of Northern Grenadines that I will not betray that love, that confidence. I will not betray it. They are an independent people, a very strong people, as I said. People of the Northern Grenadines, they are considered warriors. That's who they are. That's who we are as a people. They celebrate together. They mourn together. They share together. During their fairs, they are a together people. So I've come to love them. During this time, this current moment of COVID, when we have to deal with the magnitude, the setbacks relative to COVID, we continue as a people of Northern Grenadines, to rally together. Why so? We remain ever hopeful and confident that the Almighty God will continue to guide us through these stormy waters and to lead us in economic growth through this Unity Labour Party. Although we do not know what the future may hold for us, one thing we are certain, and one thing that we know, that the Almighty God has a plan for our country, that the Almighty God has a plan for our leader, that the Almighty God has a plan for each and every one of us as Vincentian. Today I step fully into God's plan, into the plan He, the Lord, has for me. And I step confidently onto the path that God has laid stone by stone and brick by brick for me. I am here, I am running as the candidate and as the next year representative, because the intention is to take a fresh and clear-eyed look at our own governance. We're going to change it, you know, to charter a visionary course over the next 5 years, to define the actions for which we can and must be held accountable. For the Northern Grenadines, I have a vision. However, I am not being naive to the fact that if we are going to make the change in the Northern Grenadines, it will take serious effort. You know, I am not naive to that, but we are going to do that. We are going to do this. Friday has adopted, in my book, an attitude. They are doing okay. in the Northern Grenadines for far too long. Far too long. You have taken the ferry daily. I have traveled with him between St. Vincent and Beckway. Sailing away from what? Sailing away from what goes on the Northern Grenadines. A disconnect. Now he is, I'm hearing, and this may surprise you, the Rock of Gibraltar that they say is theirs. I am hearing, and you too are hearing, that Friday is conducting house to house in Beckway. Is this an indication that Friday is snaggy? You know, it's from my heart. It is funny. It is significant in that it is clear to me, and it ought to be clear to the people, that Friday is not familiar with his constituency. Is not familiar with the people of Beckway, as he is not familiar with St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know, so he must conduct this house to house. Northern Grenadines, this time around, must take his rightful seat. And I'm going to see to that. That rightful seat at the national governance, guided by this Unity Labour Party. The Unity Labour Party has instituted a strategy, a strategic and ongoing national plan. And day by day, month by month, year by year, this government work for the benefit of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Northern Grenadines now stands at the deciding moment within the history of the constituency. No longer can we afford to let our future simply unfold. We must prepare, plan, and execute. That's what I'm going to do. No longer can we afford to let petty partisan division get in the way of lifting up every human being. We must build bridges to each other. No longer will we in the Northern Grenadines be at the tail end of foreign wealth and investment. We must believe in ourselves, in our dignity, and in our people. My friends, Labour love all of us. But what does that mean? What does that mean to us in the Northern Grenadines? When I say to you, Labour love you, Labour love, what am I really saying to you? Simply put, we are putting works and actionable, stronger together vision for the Northern Grenadines, which I say to you, you must hold me accountable. You must hold me accountable for that. That is what it means. It means that a business council will be pulled together, a business council of industrial people of Northern Grenadines, who will become the think tanks relative to the economic well-being and the development of the people of Northern Grenadines. A constituency that will genuinely represent the interests of each village, the Northern Grenadines. We will pursue projects that would yield decent jobs. Not jobs, but yet they cannot tell you where the jobs coming from. But we will pursue projects that will yield decent jobs across all spectrum of livelihood and skill sets. What is meant by Labour love you in Northern Grenadines? It is simply hold Carlos accountable. Plan for every constituency. Plan for accountable. That's my message to the people of Northern Grenadines. It is a focus on the revitalization of airport and seaports in Northern Grenadines. It's a plan for the development of the Beckway, what we call Parliament, the Beckway Port area. It's a plan which will develop that for all of Beckway, for Beckway people. Call it the almond tree. The provision of a modern sea ambulance and rescue vessel. And you want to hear something? This vessel will be delivered by the end of this month to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This is no joke. We have heard over and over of off-season, on-season. Time enough for that to be abolished. 365 days within the year, our people must eat. Our people must be fed. So we're going to abolish that, and we're going to change the mindset of people. And while I'm at this, Minister, we will reclaim, and we will call on you to reclaim some of those portion of lands as Crown lands. we will distribute them, divide them and distribute them to the locals of Beckwith. Regularize, we will, the informal settlement of Beckwith, Paget Farm, Land Reform, Cemetery Hill, and Unionville. We will transform. This is what I'm telling you, what the meaning of labor love, you know. You know, we will transform Hamilton Waterfront into an era, a hub of culture and festival. We will move to provide facilities on Princess Margaret Beach, on Lower Bay Beach, also in Paget Farm. Construct a market and convenience in Paget Farm. We will work in concert with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other ministries to ensure that the Beckwith Smart Center is constructed and delivered to the people. A center which will offer engine repairs, hospitality training, you name it, in that center. The restoration of the Paget Farm playing field, the redevelopment of the Clive Tennis playing field. We will make sure that it is lighted. We will ensure that Hamilton, Lower Bay, and Mount Pleasant, all that their playing field as they have been requested is commissioned. We will strengthen the Beckwith Onshore Committee. We will erect a monument. I tell you this. I'm in Beckwith now 20 years, Snaggy. Some people won't believe it. I'm there 20 years. But there are a number of unsung heroes on Beckwith. People who, when I listen to stories of how they braved the seas in rowboat from Beckwith to St. Vincent, I said, these people need to be recognized. These people need to be honored. So we are going to erect a monument in recognition of them on the island. We will move, as the people would have asked for the longest while, to rename the Beckwith Community High in recognition of Charles Adams, who would have given a lot of work in that era of education. Similarly, we will move to rename the Paget Farm Primary School in honor of Mr. Wallace. Likewise, the quest is to Minister of Health to rename the Beckwith Hospital in honor of Sir Sidney Gunn Monroe, and the clinic in honor of Eulalie Cozier. And I'll tell you something better, Minister. Independence is coming up. It's a nice present. A good time to do it. You know? A good time to do it. Yeah? Yes. The police station in Paget Farm will be rebuilt. A new health center in Paget Farm, Minister, will be rebuilt. We will move and we'll work with Competence Authority to address the issue of climate change on Beckwith. We will institute or have instituted a mobile police station or police outpost back on Front Street of Port Elizabeth. As priority, also, Minister, we will work to correct, Minister of National Security, I know he's listening, to correct the issues as it relates to traffic and parking, Minister of Transport in Port Elizabeth, on Beckwith. The Beckwith Airport will be repaired. As a matter of fact, I was told that the repairs will start in about 2 to 3 weeks' time. This is a working government. We're getting it done. There is a bridge, Minister, that have been talked about for many years. My deputy assistant campaign manager, who is 23 years old, lived not too far from that. For months, years, he's been licked, going and coming. I am pleased to report to the whole of St. Vincent and the Grenadines that that bridge, that piece of road have started. It have started. And you know what I said to the young man? We are going to name it, Minister, after the young man. The young man's name is Iwansi. Iwansi. And we're going to call it Iwansi Bridge. You know, we're going to call it Iwansi Bridge. Local government is a critical thing, and we must move to reintroduce local government within the Grenadines. We will work with the Musty Company to ensure and to strengthen the relationship there between the people and the company itself. For a very long time, Dr. Friday Godwin has found himself adrift and continue to drift as a ship that is sailing without a rudder aimlessly when it comes to the people and the representation of Northern Grenadines. For a very long time, Friday, I've been asleep at the wheel. For a very long time, Friday, have taken the people of Northern Grenadines, Mustique and Beckwith, for granted. This Unity Labour Party have proven over the years and have continued to work tirelessly to improve the livelihood for the people of Northern Grenadines. It is evidenced in the education, health, wellness, sports, culture, and tourism and housing programs and initiatives in Northern Grenadines. You will agree with me that much more can be done, and it's expected that much more will be done. Hold me accountable. But what has the government, what do the people of Northern Grenadines under the NDP have to say? And that is before a Unity Labour Party. And I will give you one example. I will give. Before this Unity Labour Party took office, those of you who have snaggy been to Beckwith, I know our comrade leader have been to Beckwith many times. You're flying fly in one, and you're trying to eat with another. That is what the people of Northern Grenadines have had to deal with under an NDP administration, where the Prime Minister is parliamentary representative was the Prime Minister on sanitary condition. What were the plans? That is the school plans like? Will our students have proper toilet facilities under the NDP? No. Pit latrine. I grew up with one, so I know the conditions. What about the hospital in Beckwith? What was it like? How much was paid to the workers, especially those in the tourism and the tourism sector under the NDP government? I urge you to ponder these questions. I urge you to think seriously and remember, never forget where we come from. It is time, comrades. It is time, people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is time, people of Northern Grenadines, Beckwith and Mustique, that we call a spade, and tell it simply as it is. No more of, I am not in power, but give me a chance. No more of that. You know what I say to that? Look at my records. Go through Beckwith. Go through Central Leeward and look at my records. Friday, what is your record? I was wondering, and what I came up with is something of this kind as this record. You know, a blank. Dare to compare, Friday. Dare to compare. Dare to compare. You know, you tell me, Friday, that, hey, and it's white. Hashtag white flag. It's white. You know, he said, tell me what you think. That's your leader. Tell me what you think I should do or we should do. No, man. No. You lack vision. You know what I say to that? I have a vision, you know. The ULP has a vision. I have a plan. You want to see the plan too? Look at them. That's not a white sheet, you know. That's a plan, you know. That's a plan to transform Northern Grenadines. And you know what I say to this and to the people? Hold me accountable. Hold me accountable. You know what is funny too with this gentleman? And we simply have enough of it. Like I said, I'm talking from the heart. We simply have enough of it. Give me your money. You know, give me your money and I'm going to give you a passport. Come on. Come on, man. What do you take us for? 3 for 10. Huh? Now you hear he's been advised that our passport must be sold what? At a cheaper rate than the others? Come on, that's how you think of us? Huh? We have no value? Somebody says Sprat. The people will not accept that. It is out of order. It is out of place. We will not accept that. We will not be sold out. We are not for sale, and we will not surrender. We will not hashtag white flag. We will not return to bananas either, because we have a plan. Are you ready for Leadership Friday? No, this is evidence to us that you're simply not ready. You're not ready. It is quite obvious. Friends, as I close, I realize that the time is very limited. With much to say. We must continue to support this Unity Labour Party as we traverse the many cracks left in the highways as a result of all what we have to deal with, the global recessions, as a result of the pandemic and everything else. But let us be assured, let us ensure that the decision we make from this moment onwards is for the continuation of building on what has been achieved by the Unity Labour Party government. With our general, with our five-star general, the doctor at the helm, who has never fallen asleep as he ensures that all of us keep our lights shining bright as we allow stars to lead the way continued into socio-economic growth. The time will not permit me to go through everything. And if you do not remember anything of this presentation, remember this. I am Carlos Williams, the Unity Labour Party candidate and the next parliamentary representative for the Northern Grenadines. I am running to finally offer proper representation to the hard-working men and women, families of the Northern Grenadines. I plan to take a fresh, clear-eyed look at all the practical avenues that would lead to expansion in my constituency, self-reliance and self-governance. I plan to spend the next 5 years chartering a visionary course filled with solution actions, energies, and accountability for the families of Northern Grenadines. Tell Friday this. A new star is rising in the north. In the north, tell him his reign of mismanagement, poor representation is over. There is a fresh leadership ready to take his place. Friday, we will not sell out. We will not hashtag white flag. Comrades and friends, good night. May God continue to bless us all, and may God continue to bless St. Vincent again.
Ring the bell, and we send them home. Ring the bell,
Hashtag. Luther say ring the bell, man, Carlos. Ring the bell, man. Don't afraid to ring the bell. Yeah, be afraid that, you know. All the talk you hear them going on with, you know, they really wish that we could stay as long as possible with that bell, you know. They ain't keen on that bell, you know. They only play in opposition thing and talking about ring the bell. They may really want that bell to ring, you know. Because they know that is the end. Herman, gonna be proud of you tonight. Methodical and structured. Herman Belma gonna be proud of you tonight. Them fellas in the Grenadines, them fellas campaigning, considered to be the bastion. There's a horse of a different color this time around. As a matter of fact, they say that they promised me a parting gift. I'm looking forward for it. Comrades, I want to bring the parliamentary representative, the candidate who is going to be there at Eastern Georgia again. And we're running for a little time. So I ain't staying long and no fanfare. I'm bringing Camilo to come and let's go to drink to the people, man. Hey, Julian?
For this election, we spread the Labour love.
Labour love.
I think that's the last time we're playing that one because I know my sister Chanel have a new tune coming out. You hear it yet? You hear it yet? It's coming. I want to greet everyone here with labor love. Thank all of my comrades and friends for coming out and recognize my brothers on the platform tonight. I know there's always a debate about whose constituency is the prettiest and whose constituency is the best. I always like to answer those things with data. The largest constituency in the country is East St. George. The country with the largest migration internally is East St. George. The constituency where the most people move to every year is East St. George. So people voted with their feet already. The people of St. Vincent have determined that the best constituency is East St. George. I am honored to be given this opportunity to speak to you today. Whether you're watching online, on television, listening on the radio, this is a unique campaign that we're getting into here. We're on the marks, but it's a new mark. And it's proceeding under unique circumstances and constraints. And I confess that I miss the energy of the rallies and the warmth and the love that washes over you when you stand up on a stage full of thousands of labor supporters. But I recognize as well that our General Secretary is the most ingenious and creative General Secretary in the region and has created the best substitute for that environment. Because this is not a mass meeting, but rather a more personal experience, I'm going to speak to you as plainly as I can. I'm going to tell you that this election is about a lot of fundamental issues. It's about a young man near the Calico Town Hall who dreamt of being a chef, but couldn't round up the money to get started. Today, thanks to Prime, he has a stove, he has a fridge, he has pots and pans, he has utensils, and he's serving some of the best ITAL food in the country from that restaurant. It's about a young woman in Brighton who was sewing clothes in her house on a dilapidated sewing machine. But again, thanks to Prime, has a new sewing machine, new materials, and new energy about her job and her talents and her skills. It's about two partners in Glen who launched their hair salon and barber shop with a Prime grant to buy barber chairs, shampoo chairs, and all the necessary equipment and supplies. This election is about a tennis prodigy from Fair Hall and a football phenom from Calico, both attending university and developing their talents in the United States, thanks to government assistance. It's about record numbers of university scholarships, record levels of community college and UE enrollment, and record numbers taking advantage of the YES and the SET program. This election is about a COVID pandemic that brought the entire world to a standstill and is causing economies around the globe to grind to a halt, while the ULP keeps us safe, keeps us open, keeps the economy afloat, and directly touches over 15,000 Vincentians with income support, from hospitality workers to minibus operators to cruise ship workers to vendors to handcart operators to vulnerable citizens. My comrade Saboto told me that just this week, the first 3 days of this week, 2,358 farmers received the initial drought and COVID support payment of $500. So we spent $1.2 million in the first 3 days of this week to those 2,400 farmers. And in the coming days, another 1,600 farmers, Sabi tells me, will also receive their initial payment.
Just progress, 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 progress. We end up.
Progress. This election is about so much more. Who has a plan to make the AIA work and attract more hotels and jobs to St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Who has a plan to expand the fisheries sector and employ more fisher folk? Who has a plan to further develop our call centers and employ hundreds more young people? Who has the plans to develop a modern port and a modern referral hospital? Who has a credible plan to combat climate change? Who has a plan to make St. Vincent and the Grenadines a credible, respected, and influential voice on the global stage? And who is taking principled stands on a host of crucial issues, from reparatory justice to non-interference in sovereign affairs, to whether or not we have the right to pretend that the 24 million residents and citizens of Taiwan do not exist. On all these issues and more, it is clear that the party of choice, the party of principle, the party of plans is the Unity Labour Party. I hope to have an opportunity over the course of the campaign to address all those issues and more in great detail. But I want to speak a bit more about another issue that this election is about. This election is about your passport and what it means to be a citizen of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I'm glad that Comrade Carlos led off with that in his speech. Your passport is more than a collection of pages and some ink. It is, to quote our comrade leader, the outward sign of the inward grace of citizenship. It is a sacrament of our citizenship, and it can never be a commodity for sale. Young people say, "Me nah sell out my friend them." And they're right. Some things cannot be bartered or sold for 30 pieces of silver. Your God, your family, your principles, and your country. This nation, called St. Vincent and the Grenadines, is not simply a collection of islands, rocks, and keys. It is not just trees and rivers or mountains and beaches. This nation is our shared history of struggle and triumph. This nation is our shared culture, from what we eat to how we talk or dress or celebrate, to our common rituals and touchstones. This nation is common experiences, common vulnerabilities, shared fears and aspirations. This nation called St. Vincent and the Grenadines is its people, all of us, living and loving and striving together for our shared progress. The precise definition of who or what the essence of our nationhood is elusive, but who feels it knows it. When Fire Empress sings that she's a true Vincy, we know what she means. And when Skinny proclaims that this island is mine, we understand and we share the source of his pride. From Beckett's unabashed love, St. Vincent, I love you, to Skake's and his pure delight that our nation was born, we have always known that we belong to a special and uniquely blessed family. That sense of belonging, that sense of pride, that sense of ownership of our history and our destiny is indescribable, but it is also priceless. Citizenship is the highest honor in our land, and it is an honor that is not for sale. I don't have to list all of the international criminals, fugitives, and terrorists that have been captured around the world carrying other islands' passports. I don't have to regale you with the tales of corruption and theft surrounding passport schemes around the world. And I certainly hope that I don't have to remind you of the fact that multiple NDP campaigns, from their cynical vote no campaign to the last 3 election campaigns, have been bought and paid for by foreigners who have been promised the profits of your battered birthright. Those are the facts. They want to blind you to those facts with promises of milk and honey. The answer to every question is sell passports. Roads, sell passports. Jobs, sell passports. COVID, sell passports. It is a lazy, unimaginative, and baseless mantra masquerading as a plan. It also ignores a few inconvenient truths. When they tell you how passport money turned other islands into debt-free paradises, they neglect to tell you that some passport sellers are having trouble paying salaries right now. It's in the news if you choose to read it. It's not the first time that the mighty passport sellers have been unable to meet their monthly obligations either. They ignore how almost all of them are incurring more debt and floating more bonds than we are, and borrowing at less favorable rates too. They sidestep the issue of how almost all of them, in spite of their passport profits, had to go cap in hand to the International Monetary Fund to request an economic bailout, something that we in St. Vincent and the Grenadines have never been forced to do. And they do not tell you about the facts that some of these passport sellers are millions of dollars behind in their NIS, their payments to UE, and their debts to local banks. And they borrow money from us too, but that's another story for another time. In our region, multiple banks have refused to touch passport money, terminating CBI ties and dropping passport business from their portfolios. The Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean says that passport selling contributes to countries' reputational risk, which leads to the loss of correspondent banking relations. What does that mean for you? It means trouble moving money in and out of your country. It means trouble getting Western Union and MoneyGram. It means trouble attracting reputable foreign direct investment. The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, closer to home, has said that reliance on passport selling is of concern. That's how they put it. It's of concern. Due not only to the fact that everybody's trying to sell it cheaper than the next one, but because, and I'm quoting them, increasing security concerns may cause countries to reconsider the visa-free travel of citizens from CBI countries. So the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is saying, this thing is concerning because you're selling your passport on the basis that you could go visa-free elsewhere. But those countries might pull the plug on you. And then what do you have to sell? The IMF calls passport selling programs and their inflows, they call it one word, volatile. But what does volatile mean? The definition is liable to change rapidly and unpredictably, especially for the worse. And it says that the passport selling is subject to sudden stop risk. And what does that mean? It means that it could be cut off at any time. The IMF also says that those eating at the passport money trough may not care about prudent investment. And that, I'm quoting them again, investments undertaken using CBI funds may face sustainability issues because one may expand hotel capacity beyond market potential or build lower quality facilities. If you scratch the surface of the NDP's passport paradises, you will see ghost towns of dilapidated buildings built by unscrupulous hit-and-run investors. Further, and I'm going to dwell on it because it's important, and it's a matter that we have to decide in this election. The European Union and the OECD are tightening the screws on passport selling programs. They have already said they will attack it as a vehicle for tax avoidance and criminality. 2 weeks ago, look it up, September 16th, Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, said this, and I'm going to quote her because this is 2 weeks ago. Violations of the rule of law through the issuance of golden passports, and that's what they call passport selling up there, will not be tolerated. She goes on to say that the European Commission, and I'm quoting her again, will defend the integrity of our European institutions, whether it is about the primacy of European law, the freedom of the press, the independence of the judiciary, or the sale of golden passports. European values are not for sale. That's what she said. So why should our values be for sale? If the EU could bring the region's offshore financial sector to its knees, and they have, imagine what they could do as they gradually tighten their focus on the relatively small number of passport sellers. Imagine this also. Why would anyone buy our passport over another island? And Carlos hinted at it. Would they buy our passport because it has a longer history? Or because they like the color? Or maybe because they think Leacock is a more trustworthy passport salesman than those in other islands? No. They will buy it because it is cheaper or because it is less regulated. That is how you break into a market like this one. By being cheaper, quicker, or easier. Now, if you've been paying attention, you know that the race to the bottom has begun with the passport selling countries. They're having 2-for-1 sales. They're having family sales. They're having buy the daddy and get the wife and the children free. And as the new kids on the block, we would have to follow suit. Yes, they're having COVID sales too. Cheaper, quicker, easier. Is that what you want your citizenship to be? The foreigners will buy it, but you will pay for it. You will pay for it in reputation. You'll pay for it in trouble moving your money, in trouble doing business, in difficulty traveling around the world. You will pay for it with the gnawing shame in your belly that you have sold your patrimony for 30 pieces of silver. In this very uncertain period, now is not the time to hitch our development wagon to something that is volatile, to something that will stop soon, to something that breeds corruption, to something that is getting cheaper by the minute, and to something that the Europeans say will not be tolerated going forward. Least of all, now is not the time to entrust your citizenship to a man who has a backup when he trashes your Vincentian passport. A man who proudly says that he carries his Canadian passport in his front pocket and brags that it makes him doubly qualified to be the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Can you imagine that? No. Talking about selling passports in this country is the talk of a party that is bereft of ideas. They're trying to scribble and copy yesterday's ideas to solve tomorrow's problems. If you have 20 years to come up with a plan, and that plan becomes simply sell passports, you ain't ready to govern St. Vincent. You see, the NDP is a party of cash grabs. China is a cash grab. Passports is a cash grab. Toll booth on Sion Hill is a cash grab. The ULP, on the other hand, has detailed, actual, implementable plans. And we have a record of bringing those plans to fruition. And when I talk about plans, I'm not talking about a meme on Facebook. I'm talking about plans that we have thought through, that we have analyzed, that we have funded, and that are underway as we speak in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have a plan to make the AIA work through the creation of new hotels. We have a plan to improve our competitiveness and efficiency through the construction of a modern port. We have a plan to expand the blue economy with fishery centers. We have a plan to create jobs in hospitality, construction, logistics, ICT, agriculture, fisheries, medicinal cannabis, professional services, healthcare. We have a plan, it's being implemented to bring Sandals Beaches Resort, the Holiday Inn Express, the Marriott Resorts, the Royal Mill Hotel. Look, in the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we've never had hotels like that come into mainland St. Vincent. And it's because we have a plan. We have a plan to grow our economy without selling our passports and our patrimony. We have a plan to make us more resilient to climate change. Look around at the river defense and the sea defense all over this country. And we have a plan to continue improving our healthcare with a modern Louis Punnett home in Glen and an acute referral hospital in Annesville. By the way, have you noticed the NDP's silence on the hospital issue? Last election, you remember the infamous Farmville Hospital. Not only do you remember the infamous Farmville Hospital, you remember them saying on the radio that they were going to build the hospital in East St. George. You remember that? But I read some reports from the NDP candidate for East St. George this time around, where she detailed her plans for the constituency. And nowhere was the issue of a major hospital mentioned. No, she talked about upgrading a couple clinics. But somehow, the issue of an entire hospital that was promised from 5 years ago has fallen quietly by the wayside. Has the NDP abandoned or relocated its supposedly firm and well thought out hospital plans? Maybe they were going to build it on the land now occupied by the Royal Mill Hotel, or Rainforest Seafood Plant, or the Choppins Hard Court, or the Brighton Football Facility, or the temporary Parliament and Student Hostel. Maybe we have already used up all the land with the development plans that we were doing. Or maybe it's just part of the usual chaotic policy raffle that they play with you. Austerity this week, no mention of austerity next week. Dolphin prison this week, oops, wasn't my idea next week. Switching to China this week, well, we'll think about it some more next week. Lock them out for COVID this week, let them in with COVID next week. Yellow Army this week, all white party next week.
Come right, tell them, own your madness, where you're running for, own your madness.
And we didn't have carnival this year, and I miss a white fete. I miss all white fete, so I don't mind a glow party. Even with Prime, a program that has already benefited over 800 entrepreneurs and small businesses this year alone, the other party is conflicted and confused. Some of their candidates call it reckless, while others promote it and distribute flyers and application forms. I saw a picture last week of a recent NDP youth meeting, and I played a fun little game with myself of how many of the people in their yellow shirts on that platform had applied for and received prime grants over the last 2 months. And more power to them, more power to them. We in the ULP are grounded in a shared philosophy, a common vision, and we have one leader. I notice the other party, they have an official leader, they have a titular leader, they have an ancestral leader, they have a wannabe leader, they have an aspiring leader, they have a de facto leader. But we have one leader, and we follow one philosophy. So there's a coherence to our policies that you all understand. So our policies and their positive outcomes are clear and consistent and beneficial to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So, Chairman, I have the signal honor and the privilege to represent the great people of East St. George. And I could not be prouder or more humbled by the responsibility and the opportunity to serve. The ULP has done great, great things in East St. George during my first term in office, even with more great things in store for my next term. East St. George is rapidly transforming for the better. And permit me to remind you of a few of our accomplishments. You know, like James E.P. say, I feel like beat my chest. I feel like beat my chest. We built a top-class temporary school and are building a completely refurbished and expanded Calico Anglican school. And when people said that board school ain't gonna make it, Calico Anglican School recorded this year 100% passes in their CPA exam. We opened a top-class modern Calico Town Hall, best in the country. We constructed multiple lives to live homes in Enhams, Glen, Brighton, Junction, and other places. We stopped sand mining in Brighton. We cleaned up Canash Beach. We built a new Brighton tourism facility. We upgraded the Glen and Calico hard courts and built a whole new hard court in Choppins. We upgraded the lights at the Calico playing field, expanded the bleachers, added a washroom, refenced the whole facility. We constructed footbridges in Brighton, in Diamond, in Calico, 4 footbridges. And footbridges are important in that case because each one of those 4 footbridges leads to a school. And little children were crossing rivers, and now they're all safe and secure going to and from their school. We built new roads, and I'm talking about resurfaced roads, brand new roads where roads didn't exist, in Revere, and in Diamond, and in Brighton Salt Pond. And we're continuing to repair roads throughout the constituency even as we speak. We completed paved footpaths and steps in Glen, Brighton, Southwood, Choppins, Fairburn, and other areas of the constituency, with more to come. We partnered with the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Football Federation to rehabilitate the Brighton football field. And we welcomed and equipped a talented new team of brilliant young panists in the Epic Sounds Steel Orchestra. And that's just a few of the accomplishments of the government. The private sector of East St. George is more vibrant than ever before. In the last 5 years, we welcome OSV, One St. Vincent Group, SVG Foods, new restaurants in the constituency. Hundreds of rooms of new apartments have been built, mainly to service the growing medical school community, but also for locals. We have new restaurants, new grocery stores, a new auto parts store, and on the top of the hill, in Ratamill overlooking Calico, we have the Royal Mill Hotel, over $70 million facility. It's going to be the tallest building by far ever in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have Maya's Luxury Suites built by a local hotelier. That's going very well. We have Rainforest Seafood in Calico being built. That's going to spend $20 million every year buying fish from the local fisher folk of the area. Those three alone is over $200 million in construction and over 500 workers from the area. And give me a chance, Julian, I hope you give me a chance in the next meeting to detail the length and breadth of the job plans of the Unity Labour Party.
I feel like
in the next term, this ULP government will, and I'm just talking about East St. George, will rebuild a modern Louis Punnett home. We will construct a temporary parliament that will become student dormitories for the community college. We will build a Golden Years activity center for our active elderly in East St. George. We will develop enhanced coastal and river protection. We will ensure improved community centers and offerings. We will construct a non-communicable diseases wellness center at Enhams. We will extend and repair the Villa Boardwalk and construct a tourism facility there. We will expand our existing program of road repair and construction, and we'll create more affordable housing options for our young and fast-growing constituency. I have printed a 40-odd page booklet that is called East St. George, Building Together with Labour. And I will be distributing to constituents all over East St. George this booklet in the coming weeks. It will show, in brief, what we have done, what we plan to do to make East St. George the best place to work, live, and raise a family anywhere in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I have abused Chairman's patience a little bit today, and I won't trespass any longer on Luke's time. But I want to say finally, to the people of Fairhall, Fairburn, Carapan, Glamorgan, Rivulet, Southwood, Enhams, McCarthy, Revere, Calder Ridge, Belmont, Belvedere, Brighton, Harmony Hall, Prospect. You see villages in his constituency? Ratto Mill, Calicoa, Glen, Goldenville, Choppins, Diamond. Let me steal a phrase from Carlos. If you remember nothing else from this speech, remember this. We have a choice in this election between progress and backwardness. We have a duty to protect our patrimony and the essence of what it means to be a citizen of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have an obligation to tell the NDP loudly, unequivocally, with no water in our mouth, that our passports will never, ever be for sale. Let us renew the mandate for progress. Let us reward the comrade for his yeoman service in the vineyard. Let us accelerate the transformation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Let us lift SVG higher. Comrades and friends, thank you, good night, and may Almighty God continue to bless St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I am a son to send the NDP mad. Tell them labor only with blood, labor only with soul. Talk if you want, I don't care, cause labor in control. Ring the bell, then we send them home. Comrade, ring the bell, then we send them home.
Let me stretch out a little bit here, man. Let me stretch out. Thank you. You know, all who listening at home tonight in the privacy of your bedrooms or in the comfort of your living rooms, you listen to what I hear on this platform tonight. We have a hope. That is it, you know, we have a hope. When me and Montgomery take our exit, watch them. We have a hope. We have a hope. And here what is happening, not to mention that the comrade is the political leader going to have a pre-recorded speech that we would listen to. But here where he is, he ain't here tonight, you know. He home, he quarantine. And there's the thing about leadership, you could stay home and you could watch your soldiers work. You could stay home and you could watch your young Turks work. And that the road has been prepared for the new generation of leaders in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Labor now! Nobody ain't go bramble Luke. Nobody ain't gonna bramble Luke. Comrade, for the constituency of East Kingstown. This time around, ring the bell.
Luke seeking the interest. Luke is good for business. We voting Luke. We voting Luke. He will clean up the environment. Voting into government. We voting Luke.
Comrades, good night. I hear a lot of bells ringing here tonight, and I think Luther has something to do with that.
Ring the bell, and we send them home. Comrade, ring the bell, and we send them home.
It actually reminds me a little bit about public speaking. You know, there's a very important role for the bell in public speaking, and hopefully it doesn't cause me to come to an abrupt stop. Because when the bell rings, it's normally time to stop. But when the comrade ring the bell, it will be the time for us to start in this campaign. And we are looking forward to that time when he does ring the bell and gets us going in earnest. I'd like to start here tonight by expressing my strong support for the East Kingstown contestant in the Miss Unity Youth pageant. I know Miss Llewellyn very well. I could tell you that she is a winner, and we are going for the crown. I am not sure if I will do too well in beauty pageants. I'm sure. But I believe that after we win the next elections, they might call me Mr. East Kingstown. That is probably a pageant I could win. Please permit me as well at this moment to extend a special greeting to my sister Valina, who is celebrating her birthday today. And since I'm not able to be there with her, I thought I could at least compensate by sending her a message from this platform. And also to announce that we are set to enter what has to be. People talking about the best constituency and so on, but I want to talk about the best month, and that's October, and it's starting tomorrow.
Coming up, bad man.
Comrades, at a time like this when our nation is dealing with an outbreak of dengue fever, I'd like to say a special word of thanks and gratitude to the insect vector control workers who are out there working in the field to keep our country safe. I walked a day in their shoes, and it gave me a newfound respect for their job. I'd also like to extend my appreciation to the health professionals, the nurses, doctors, and everyone else who are putting in the extra effort required to deal with the increased demand for health services. We all have a role to play. You could do your part by helping to eradicate mosquito breeding sites and following the general guidance on this subject. The Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment will deal with the mosquitoes, and the Unity Labour Party will fog out the NDP. That's right. We would certainly not allow them to get into government, because that will make our country sick. And we have to protect the health of our nation and the health of our government.
I'd like to speak directly and openly to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I'd like to tell you that I've done my best for you as the Minister of Health, Wellness and the Environment at an exceptionally difficult time. I'm leading you at this moment through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we are now addressing the outbreak of dengue fever. I have given you the best of my ability. It has been an intense period of my life, but the determination has always been to make this the finest hour for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I have always held the view that our faith will see us through whatever the future brings. In general, comrades and friends, the past 5 years have been characterized by monumental improvements in healthcare and environmental services under my tenure. There have been, for instance, a transformation of the healthcare infrastructure in this country by the opening of an unprecedented number of new facilities. We have the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center. We have the Chateaubelair Smart Hospital. We have the Levi Latham Health Center. We have the Bookament Polyclinic. We have an isolation center in Argyle, which was done as a part of our response to the coronavirus pandemic. We also built a lab so that we could do testing for COVID-19 right here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I don't want you to forget the Mental Health Rehabilitation Center, which was upgraded at a cost of $4.1 million under the modernization of the health sector project. Let us remember the Lewis Ponette Home. The Honorable Member of Parliament for East St. George, he spoke about what we're going to do at the original facility in Glen. But we have already done a great job with a temporary facility right there in Stony Ground that allows our people to live in dignity. People who are elderly, people who are disabled, people who might be poverty-stricken. This government has delivered for them, and it has not left them behind at all. By the way, it has to be said that many parts of the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital itself were upgraded and improved. This is true, for instance, of the female surgical ward, the operating theater, recovery room, and intensive care unit, the pediatric ward, the kitchen, and elsewhere, and there's more in store for the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital. The record is there. The president of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce went on the record to say that we have a state-of-the-art operating theater at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital as a result of strategic investment by this government. And we're going to take the stakes even higher when we build the acute referral hospital in Arnesville. I'm phenomenal. If you think we have a phenomenal government, just clap. If you think we have a phenomenal government, just ring the bell. This is a phenomenal government. Well, I see that my brother, the chairman, is making the point that in the Grenadines right now, not only have we done repairs to clinics, but we are providing a smart facility that is going to serve Union Island and Myro. And work on that project is underway. And in the hometown of Carlos Williams, you heard him tonight with his maiden speech, and I'm talking about the hometown in the sense of Barralee. We're doing work on a smart healthcare facility in Barralee as well. This wave of healthcare improvement is touching every part in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And the Minister of Finance, he said quoting James E.P. that he felt he wanted to beat his chest. I want to say that in the past 5 years as Minister of Health, I have opened more health facilities than any other Minister of Health in the history of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
I'm having the best time of my life. I come out to play.
And I set out, and I think I succeeded to a fair extent in this matter, to raise the flag or to keep the flag of St. Vincent and the Grenadines flying high at all international forums, including the World Health Assembly. I did all this for you. I did all this for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I was wide awake and delivering results for the people of this country for the past 5 years in this capacity. This government will go down in history as the government that introduced for the first time ever dialysis services to the public sector of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This government will be remembered. This government will be known as the government that provided an expanded program of chemotherapy and cancer treatment for persons who are affected by that disease in this country. We will be known for introducing 24-hour services at the X-ray department at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, at the laboratory department at the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital, and soon we'll complete the circle by making sure it is true of the pharmacy as well at that facility. We will leave no stone unturned in seeking to give the people of this country the best possible deal when it comes to health. And this is not all. One of the very important developments over the past 5 years, though it may be underrated, is the fact that we have published a patient's charter which sets out the rights and responsibilities of patients and which is essentially a covenant between patients and healthcare providers that protects the best interests of all parties concerned. I would leave that there for now. There's so much we could talk about in health, and the opportunity to talk about it, I am sure, will be provided to me in the not-too-distant future. I want to go to say some things now about the constituency of East Kingstown. And we have an East Kingstown DJ in the house. And we have an East Kingstown engineer in the house. And we have some man ringing the bell down there from East Kingstown too. And we have an East Kingstown woman on the camera. How we dominating the place so? And not to mention Steve, I see him want some big up down in the back there. East Kingstown. And guess what? They voted Luke Browne. That's what Candyman done say in the last election. I don't know if you're going to come up with some more. And let me tell you something, you know, nobody had to tell me about East Kingstown, you know. I don't want to come from where I come from and try to get to know the constituency of East Kingstown in 2 weeks. I don't have to try to get to know the issues on the ground in 2 weeks before elections. I have been living in East Kingstown all my life. And I want to make it clear that we are on course for a historic victory in that constituency. Our political leader, the Honorable Prime Minister, has himself said that East Kingstown was the best performer in terms of improvement in the last general elections. We went from a situation of having a deficit of 467 in 2010 to whittling that down to 149 in 2015. And in 2020, we would have a majority of the votes cast in that constituency. The The improvement that we had was made against the leader of the opposition. And we are going to finish the job against a candidate who has a poor track record in all his previous jobs. When somebody coming to you to ask you for a job, you must ask them about their past. And on the basis of that, you make a decision of whether or not you want them to be your member of parliament. And the gentleman who wants to contend for the NDP in East Kingstown is a man who has failed the previous job test. And we'll talk more about that on another occasion. We have other things to deal with tonight. I am going to deliver representation of the people, by the people, and for the people, to use language reminiscent of the great American President Abraham Lincoln. Comrades, I'd like to share with you some plans for the constituency. These plans are grounded in reality and are an outgrowth of things that we are doing right now. I'm not waiting to be elected to start representing people. They say that charity begins at home, and I'm delighted to mention that the Sign Hill Clinic is currently being renovated. In the meantime, its services are being administered or carried out on a temporary basis at a nearby facility that provides comfortable accommodation for patients and staff. On the question of roads, we just finished a section of the road leading to Sign Hill Bay, where there would apparently be some kind of dolphin park. That is what you would call a pie in the sky idea, or perhaps a pie in the sea idea. Just to be clear, we do not plan to charge any tolls for the use of that road going down to the beach. We are working right now on a road in a part of Dorchester Hill known as Arrowroot Flat. Well, we have some work to do in that area too. And a contractor is due to start work very soon on the Walvaroo Road, and the young people call there Walvaroo City, Cross Road in Roseau, and sections of road in King Garden. Over the years, we have implemented a comprehensive roadworks program that has basically touched every part of the constituency. The situation is so serious that some people say that I'm not only a roads scholar, but also a roads scholar. This is a list of some of the roads in the constituency which have been developed in the past 5 years. The Morris Road, Main Road, well, in fact, this was just done, recently completed. I'm proud to claim that as a part of East Kingstown. And that $600,000 project helped to develop the physical infrastructure of our constituency. And this is going to be augmented by several other projects, but I'm talking about roads here right now. We did the Mala Village Road from end to end. We did the Roseau Road from top to bottom. We did roads in Morris Village, including a section of road near the residence, the former residence of Maureen Joyette. May her soul rest in peace. We did the shortcut road in Sign Hill Village. We did roads in the plan. We did the Sign Hill Bypass Road. And I mentioned that we have done the road leading down to Sign Hill Bay. We will continue in that vein when I'm formally elected as the representative for the people of East Kingstown by executing a multi-million-dollar roadworks program. The Sign Hill Village, Panyard, Hardcourt, and Community Center will be renovated to the tune of $400,000 in phases. This is in part conceptualized as being, to some extent, a gift to the champion side, the Sign Hill Euphonium Steel Orchestra, as it prepares to celebrate its 40th anniversary of existence on April 4, 2020. The first phase of the renovations, which would entail works amounting to $175,000, should start by Monday. Look out for action in the village. We are also planning at the same time to tackle an important community project in the area, and to fix up the house for the oldest man in the village, Reginald David, better known as Jack, who is going strong at 96 years old. It is our intention to restore Nam House to its former glory and to make a full-blown thrust in the areas of culture, the arts, and entertainment. This is no idle pursuit. It is a data-driven activity. I was looking at the CXC results over the years, and I recognize that many students do well in theater arts. This subject has one of the highest pass rates. In fact, the pass rate was 100% in 2019. We must give this kind of talent an outlet, and one day we might have our very own Hollywood. IT also has a high pass rate, as does physical education and sports. It's important to review this kind of data because it gives you insight for the strategy that the government should take for the development of this country. It gives you insight, for instance, on what we should be doing in terms of jobs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We obviously have to focus on creating jobs in these areas. And this dovetails with some plans that I have, which will be laid out in subsequent statements. Suffice it to say for now that I've already helped hundreds of people from East Kingstown and elsewhere to find jobs, and several of them work directly with me, and I will continue in this vein when I am the elected member of parliament for the constituency.
Right now my country making progress, which means the leader is very...
I will give a summary statement on some of our additional plans. We will carry out a land distribution program that incorporates what are known as the McLean lands in Murray's Village, Rockies. We will set up an open-air market and events facility, complete with stage and all the relevant trappings at the Sign Hill intersection. By the way, and I want to send this signal to the opening batsman for tonight, I am determined to make sure that Sign Hill regains the crown from point in the best lit Christmas community Christmas light up competition.
Keep the fire burning. Keep the fire burning. But now with your vote on election day.
We already have the best lit garden at Roseau, and we're going to have the best lit community at Sign Hill, and we're going to support all the other communities in the constituency, including Kingstown Hill and Dorchester Hill and elsewhere, with light up projects this Christmas. We would eradicate outdoor bathroom facilities, which are sometimes hideously called pit latrines, from East Kingstown and from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We will install floodlights at the Grammar School or Richmond Hill playing field and the Sign Hill playing field. Incidentally, I think that consideration could be given to renaming the Richmond Hill playing field in honor of Fred Trimingham. We will build a sports complex in honor of Gloria Ballantyne, who was the matriarch of what is perhaps the most distinguished sporting family in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I already have a proposed name for this facility. It could be called the Global Sports Complex. We will set up the Millington Football Academy, the Micey Sports Organization, and the Casson Hill Horse Athletics Club after some of our successful and distinguished sports personalities. We are going to give sports the attention it deserves in our portfolio of plans. I have given you insight on just a small section of that portfolio tonight. We have been thinking long and hard about the development of the constituency. We are excited about the future of East Kingstown. This is our time to shine, and we, as our campaign theme says in the constituency, will make a difference. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about representing people on a daily basis on the various issues affecting their lives, whatever those issues may be. I pledge today to provide my constituents with strong and active representation with the overarching objective always of improving their quality of life. I am a candidate on this platform tonight because I believe in the Unity Labour Party. I believe that it is the natural party for government in this country. I subscribe to the leadership and vision of our Honorable Prime Minister. The administration has delivered for the people of this country on every score and deserves to be elected to a 5th term of government. And as you know, this will make it a 5-star administration under the leadership of a 5-star general, our Commander-in-Chief, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves. My father recently gave me a book. He likes to give me books. But he said that this one is special. It is entitled, The Most Excellent Way to Lead. It makes the point that true leadership is about living for something greater than yourself. I am living for the people of East Kingstown and to give life to their hopes and aspirations. It also makes another fundamental point. It said that the most excellent way to lead is by love. It's not by chance that in 2015, the campaign theme was Labor Love. This principle of leading by love guides me on my political course. It is this principle that helps me to recover from setbacks and to try to turn them into advances. It is the principle that has me stay in the course, whatever difficulties may come my way. And it is because of this principle why we will attain this momentous victory in 2020. I love the people of East Kingstown and seek to give them excellent leadership. I have one request of them. Put me to work for you as your elected member of parliament. It would be one of your best decisions. Thank you, comrades. Good night. God bless you.
Say you LP, sing for always. That's the way it should be. Say you LP.
Everybody trample on the chairman tonight. You get away with it? It will have another time. Comrades, Comrade Jensek, all is well? All well, all ready? Yeah. The political leader who is not here with us tonight due to following the protocols of the COVID pandemic and who listening carefully to the instructions as given by the Chief Medical Officer. And that is the way we do things. Everybody has to comply with the directives of the Chief Medical Officer if we got to stay as safe as we ought to be. Well, COVID ain't had no business with Prime Minister. But he is going to deliver a speech tonight which we will hear via audio. So, ring them bells. He ain't here, but he here in spirit. And I know he watching. Comrade Ralph, 5-star general. 5-star general. Comrade. Labor in your soul. They're calling on you. Ring the bell, ring the bell. Yeah. When we send them home.
Ring the bell, let we send them home. Oh, ring the bell, let we send them home. Julian, ring the bell, let we send them home. Let me just say 5 in a row. 5 in a row.
Ready.
Good evening to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to the comrades and the warriors of the Unity Labour Party, supporters all. At this third virtual public meeting in the campaign for the next general elections, I want to address specifically the subject of the party of choice for the 2020 general elections. The forthcoming general elections will be the 10th general elections since independence in October 1979. Of these elections, Labour won 5, won by the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Labour Party under the leadership of our nation's founding father, Robert Milton Cato of blessed memory, and 4 by the Unity Labour Party under my leadership. And the other 4 general elections by the New Democratic Party, all of them under the leadership of James Mitchell. In the period since the founding of the Labour Party in 1955, there have been 15 general elections. Of these, Labour won the majority of seats on 7 occasions. The People's Political Party under Ebenezer Joshua, they won 3 times. The NDP 4 times. And on 1 occasion, in 1972, there was a coalition between the Mitchell-Sylvester Party and the PPP. In 3 of the 8 elections in which Labour did not win the majority of seats, it nevertheless won the majority of votes. In short, Labour won the majority of votes on 10 occasions. By far, Labour has been the natural party of government. Indeed, of the 65 years since the founding of the Labour Party, Labour has governed our country for 37 years. Non-Labour parties, the PPP and the NDP, for 26 years, 28 years. So I repeat, Labour has been the natural party of governance. In the forthcoming 2020 elections, the Labour Party has the grand opportunity to extend Labour's natural status as the governing party by another 5 years. The Labour family has this opportunity. And I emphasize Labour family. It is important that I elaborate on this choice which is facing us. The choice between us in these elections is between the ULP under Ralph and the NDP under Lorraine Friday. It's my duty, my obligation, profoundly so, to guide you to choose the ULP as the preferred party to form the government yet again. Fundamentally, the voters, the people, elect a political party to form the government on 3 bases: the party, the leader, and the candidate in the constituency. In respect of the party, the voter invariably looks at the following matters. First, the vision, philosophy, policies, and programs of the party. Secondly, the organization and functioning of the party. And thirdly, the record of the party. What has it done? What has it been doing? And who has it been representing?
Somebody say Labour. We ready and we ready. Say Labour. Somebody say Labour. Cause it's 5 in a row.
The voter, the typical voter, votes on the basis of 3 important considerations: the party, the leader, and the candidate in the respective constituencies. And in relation to the party, the voter looks mainly at three things: the vision, philosophy, policies and programs of the party. That's the first. Secondly, the organization and functioning of the party. And thirdly, what is your record? What have you done? What are you doing? And who have you been representing? Yourself or the people? I want to begin by looking at the vision, the philosophy, the policies and programs. The first limb of the considerations which you must take into account when you are making your choice. You notice I'm taking you through this evening carefully, so that when you are reflecting in these serious times, you reflect sensibly and maturely. What is good for you, your family, your community, your nation. The ULP has consistently articulated a coherent vision, philosophy, policies, and programs fit for our country and the challenging times which we face. Our vision is undoubtedly people-centered. Our philosophy is that of social democracy applied to the circumstances of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Its philosophical premises are evident through the uplifting and majestic language of the preamble to our nation's constitution, framed under Labour's watch in 1979, and the delivery of good governance. Our applied philosophy and historical understanding prompt our further idea of the ennoblement, the further ennoblement of our Caribbean civilization and its magnificent Vincentian component. Our economic approach raises aloft an efficacious, harmonious partnership between the private, cooperative, and state sectors. Our party embraces a quest to build a modern, competitive, many-sided, post-colonial economy which is at once national, regional, and global. Our party advances the central desirable economic outcomes of the tripartite economic partnership and the economic quest. These outcomes, these central desirable economic outcomes are job creation, wealth creation, a balanced, open economy of diverse, though interconnected economic pillars, economic growth, fiscal, monetary, financial stability, targeted strategic interventions, economic inclusiveness, equity and fairness, and the composite of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which I signed on at the United Nations for in September 2015. The ULP's vision, philosophy, good governance, the socio-cultural rubric of our Caribbean civilization, the economic partnership and quest, our central economic outcomes, the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, our mature regionalism, and our principled and practical and pragmatic foreign policy constitute the basis for the elaboration of the party's policies, programs in every sphere of human, social, economic, and political activity in life, living, and production. So you notice we begin with the vision, the philosophy, the idea of the further ennoblement of our Caribbean civilization, our economic approach for tripartite sector involving the private sector, the cooperative sector, the state, our quest to build this modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy, our central economic outcomes, all those, and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, all of them constitute the frame, the backdrop, the vision, the philosophy, the economic fundamentals upon which we will ground our sustainable policies and programs. It is the only way that a sensible political party and a sensible government could function. It doesn't involve any mirage. It involves serious creative thought, serious planning, and proper implementation. So we are at the ground floor and we're building so that you can see who you must choose. Our party's policies and programs are detailed in several documents, including our manifesto. I have here our manifesto for 2015. There will be one published for 2020. The details are in here. But this is not the only place you'd find the details. We find the detailed policies and programs reflected to numerous plans which we have issued in government, including the National Economic and Social Development Plan, 2013 to 2025. And in the next term, when we are approaching 2025, we will elaborate further another National Economic and Social Development Plan for the period from 2025 going forward for another 10, 15, 20 years. And in addition to that overarching National Economic and Social Development Plan, we have other detailed plans and programs published by the government, including those for education, poverty and undernourishment, health, housing, social development, energy, water, telecoms, agriculture, fisheries, forestry, tourism, information, communications, technology, financial services, sports, culture, roads and bridges, river and coastal defenses, fiscal and monetary policy, regionalism and foreign policy. All the details of the policies, we have them spelled out in the manifesto and also in our National Social and Economic Development Plan, and also specific documents issued on all these different subject areas. You want to know our detailed plans? Ask Ralph. The ULP, without doubt, has a comprehensive developmental narrative, and we have been implementing it despite the multiple challenges that have come upon us, not of our making, from outside. On the other hand, the NDP does not have any coherent vision, philosophy, policies, and programs. What you get from the NDP is a number of disjointed ideas and proposals, and everyone who purportedly speaks for the NDP has his or her own set of half-baked ideas or ill-conceived plans. The result is a veritable tower of Babel, tacking always to opportunism and embracing right-wing, conservative, wrong-headed ideas and anti-people prejudices and instincts. They demonstrate what they are really. Nothing but a coalition of anti-Ralph and anti-ULP personages, determined in their opposition objectively to genuine progress, and looking very much like yesterday's men and women with day before yesterday's ideas. There are 4 proposals. The distinct proposals, if you can call them proposals of the NDP, are wrong for our country. They're unsustainable and they're dangerous to our people. These 4 NDP so-called proposals are: 1, to sell our country's passport and citizenship; 2, to break diplomatic relations with Taiwan and establish ties with mainland China; 3, to set up 15 separate constituency funds to be run by each of the 15 parliamentary representatives, and 4, austerity in government. I repeat, all of them are wrong and dangerous for our country. Basically, the NDP stands for nothing progressive, sustainable, inspiring, or hopeful. And you have to provide hope to people, especially the young.
After this, them dead, dead. After this, them dead, them dead. After this, them dead. When the bell ring, the whole of them dead, dead.
NDP leaders are apostles of learned helplessness, negativism, and hopelessness. Every time something comes up progressive and you advocate it, no, it can't be done. Or they find some spurious reason to criticize it. Further, the NDP makes it a habit where they trivialize every complex matter. And in the process, they elevate into a self-righteous make-believe complexity, that which is trivial or marginal. And they, the NDP, are often most ignorant about that which they are most assured. And to every genuinely complex problem, and there are some problems which are genuinely complex, the NDP provides a glib answer, an easy answer, but invariably a wrong answer. So on the substantial matter of the articulation of a comprehensive, sustainable development narrative for our country, any objective person will see that the ULP on those considerations win massively, and the NDP loses by a wide margin.
Them dangerous, them envious, informer, laba laba too much on them. But the holy fire upon them.
Having determined that, now what about the second issue concerning the organization and functioning of the respective political parties? Each of the two political parties has on paper an internal democratic structure from the constituency level up to the central executive and the national convention. They also have, both of them have specific organizations for women and youths. It appears broadly that each of the structures in each party is functional to one degree or another. But which is the more effective organization in executing its functions? The ULP or the NDP? Ask yourself that question and answer it. Which is a truly democratic party reflecting the wishes and interests of its members, its supporters, and the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines? Ask yourself that question and answer it. Which is more likely to provide the organizational basis to sustain a government in the people's interest? Ask yourself that question and answer it. And every time you ask, ask yourself those questions and answer them, you'll have to vote for the Unity Labour Party. These queries I shall address in a composite manner. I shall in the process demonstrate conclusively, I repeat, that the ULP is the party of choice. Over the NDP, it has a superior structure and functioning to sustain in unity, good governance, and a people-centered progressive agenda for all our people. You say, well, Ralph, give us the evidence. Well, I'm going to give you the evidence. Let's take the first recent public exhibit in this regard. And it relates to the process of candidate selection for the forthcoming general elections. The ULP selected each of its 15 candidates seamlessly and democratically through the appropriate mechanisms of the party without any confusion or elite manipulation whatsoever. On the other hand, the NDP had to go through the exercise 2, 3, maybe 4 times in East St. George before the constituency organ could agree on an imposed candidate who came from on high. In Maracua, the selection for the NDP was even more messy. The constituency council elected Kirk De Silva by a wide margin, but he was discarded by the NDP Central Executive and replaced by Bernard Wiley, who last contested the election as the incumbent 22 years ago. In 1998, when he lost by over 1,000 votes to the then ULP newcomer, the Rose of the Valley, Gerlin McGill. In the 8 seats where the NDP has no sitting parliamentary representative, only a handful of persons, 15, 20, 30, 40, attend each of the constituency councils to select a candidate. Those are all the members they have? Or they handpick them? In 2 of these constituencies, the eventually chosen candidate secured as a precondition the promise to have their house mortgages paid off by one or more of the party financiers. In short, these 2 candidates were wholly uncommitted to the NDP enterprise. But they saw the general elections as a convenient occasion to have their mortgages paid off. I could tell you this, in one case, the spouse of one of the candidates demanded fulfillment of that promise before the declaration of the candidate. That's why they had a hold-up in that particular constituency. So much for national commitment. Secondly, the ULP is self-evidently a united political outfit, singing from the same philosophical and programmatic song sheet agreed upon by all under the leadership of the comrade. The most compelling evidence of our unity is that the ULP has run a government with a 1-seat majority for almost 10 years now. And we have run the government with aplomb and unity, with no fissures. And we have achieved mighty things during this period for our people.
We run the country, we rule the land, and we ain't joking, labor is strong.
3 occasions before, in 1966, in 1972, and 1998, governments with 1-seat majorities, once under the great Ebenezer Theodore Joshua, twice under James Mitchell, the 1-seat majority governments collapsed within 1 to 2 years. My 1-seat government is now 10 years. Internally,
Register and vote. Vote in labor. Labor is better.
the ULP is solid as a rock, and such unity in a political party is vital for its functioning in government. You do not gamble on this, I say to you, my dear voters. This unity leads inevitably to confusion and poor governance. So too, weak leadership. And what you see in opposition is what you would get worse in government. So let us look a little more at the NDP in its disunited state. It is being held together in its leadership by 2 things: anti-Ralph bile and its thirst and hunger for power. Inside of the NDP, Sinclair Leacock must often feel as though he is a political orphan, or to use the jaundiced language of yesteryear, a bastard child, politically speaking. 3 or so years ago, when Leacock threw his political hat in the leadership ring to succeed Arnim Eustace as president of the NDP, the party machinery and the top echelons of the NDP ganged up against him. He knows that, I know that, the whole country knows that. Daniel Cummins was clearly assigned the job as political hatchet man on Leacock. On Nice Radio, on the NDP-sponsored program, Cummins declared, with the usual venom and anger in his voice, quote, "I will not trust Leacock with power. I cannot trust that man. He's power hungry. He cannot lead the NDP." That's what he said.
Come right that, come right them. On your madness, where you're running for. On your madness, stand up like a man.
Proceeded to damn Leacock in terms which no one in the ULP has ever done. And I would not, some things they say about him from inside, I wouldn't even think about saying them to my friend Sinclair Leacock. So there is no love lost between Cummins and Leacock. They may grin up with one another for appearance's sake, but they loathe each other. No matter who among them may try to dispute this. 1 year later, Leacock was still in the proverbial NDP doghouse. Again, the party machinery, the NDP leadership, and the fellow traveling internet crazies ganged up against Leacock when he sought election as one of the 2 vice presidents of the NDP. All this is in the public domain, you know. Patel Matthews was unopposed for 1 position. For the second, Leacock was challenged by a political neophyte, then Senator Marcia S. Barnwell. Leacock rightly considered this contestation against him to be insulting and an affront to his dignity. He decided to make a bad, as the street in Sharps would say. Lorraine Friday hastily and meekly summoned peace talks between Leacock and himself. A peace offering was made by Friday. A tenuous, fragile peace was concocted, and Leacock was elected as one of the vice presidents. Still, Leacock is not made to feel welcomed in the very party he has given his all for. It is instructive that earlier this year in Parliament, when the occasion arose for the election of a new Speaker of the House, and the NDP proposed Miss Barnwell, Sinclair Leacock abstained from voting. Leacock supporters within the NDP insist that white shadows run the NDP. They say that the NDP big shots claim that Leacock is too outspoken for their liking on the issue of the influence of race and ethnicity in the NDP. The white shadows in the NDP are believed to run the gamut of the financiers of the NDP, the foreign white influencers in the NDP, including those in Beckwith for Lorraine Friday, those lining up to sell our citizens, our country's passport and citizenship for filthy lucre. And historically, the white racists and imperialists who hovering about this Caribbean, they always see the NDP as their natural ally in St. Vincent and the Grenadines against the ULP. And as you know, for the ULP, Black Lives Matter. Inside the NDP, right now,
Some people want to keep this country down. They are so obsessed with odds and wrongs.
there are complaints that Daniel Cummins has become uncontrollable. His angry and hate-fueled outbursts are becoming more pronounced. He's not listening to any restraining voice. His alternating bouts of melodramatic calmness and intemperate, angry outbursts worry even the NDP and its supporters. Additionally, the pressure from the ULP and Debbie Charles is getting to him in West Kingstown, and he no longer has John Horn to help him keep his composure. He feels besieged, and he's lashing out to all and sundry in and out of his party. Cummins' recent public threat to demolish personally after the elections, which he claimed that they're going to win. He's promised to demolish a shop near to the entrance of the Kingstown Government School at Stony Ground. Now you want to tell me a parliamentary representative, a man who says he's going to be in government after the next election, saying that after the election, he's going to break down a little shop. That's the only thing big with all our challenges to be dealing with. Eh? And if you, I don't know how a serious individual who is a parliamentarian, what are you going to do with? Sledgehammer and pickaxe to mash down the people in place? I don't know whether the persons they have planning permission or not. But there is a law and there's a mechanism to deal with that. Not an angry man just want to take up pickaxe or sledgehammer and go and mash down something. That is what is in store for this country.
Keep them out, keep them out. They ain't have no plan, keep them in the opposition.
But you see why that kind of a rashness, that kind of a anger, is how that is disturbing people inside of the NDP, and rightly so, their supporters and others in the country. Among the rest of the NDP, confusion abounds. In the absence of strong leadership from Lorraine Friday, everyone in the top ranks of the NDP is doing his or her own thing. And I tell you about politics. Politics abhors a vacuum. So in the leadership vacuum, you know Friday is leader. He ain't providing leadership. So in this leadership vacuum, James Mitchell feels emboldened to reclaim the leadership de facto of his party. Everybody in the NDP has his or her own program or their own set of antics. One Noel Dixon in South Windward, he employed race to satisfy an insignificant online movement from which he swiftly withdrew because of the negative effects of many persons in Calder, Argyll, Mount Pleasant, and Stubbs. The glib newcomer, Bramble, in East Kingstown, delivers his own manifesto of paid toll booths at Sion Hill for vehicular traffic to and from Kingstown. His proposal, a mimicry of swimming with dolphins in Sion Hill Bay, and unspecified investment proposals by unspecified billionaires from Vietnam, whom he apparently bumped into cursorily hither and thither. God save us from these people. 2 of the 3 female candidates proffer their own inconsequential and irreconcilable constituency plans. One of their candidates holds a particular body of newfound religious belief, which repulses everyone in the party. And so it goes on. It's a complete mess. They're foreign political consultants. The self-proclaimed mind-benders. They're financiers. They're the prospective sellers of passport and citizenship. And James Mitchell are trying to bring some order to the chaos, which is the NDP. But they're finding it very difficult to do. It is as frustrating for them as climbing up a down escalator. In fact, Mitchell is making it worse for the NDP. Believe me, Mitchell's imposition of himself in the process is causing consternation and divisions inside of the NDP and bewilderment in the public at large. Mitchell tells everyone, this is what he says, I'm back. I'm back now. The loser Eustace is gone, the winner is back. Well, When he's on the platform with Friday, he's the only winner because Friday never win anything. He never even win the seat by himself. The problem, though, is that Eustace's influence is not quite gone, and it hangs forlornly on the brow of Lorraine Friday. Mitchell publicly rebukes his party for choosing to abandon Taiwan for mainland China. And this annoys Friday and this annoys Eustace. Mitchell and Leacock openly, publicly voiced their support for Kirk De Silva in Maracay, while Friday pronounces Kirk De Silva a loser. Critics of Mitchell in the party uncharitably aver that Mitchell has always been consumed by vanity and money, and that he's a drag on the party's fortunes. Lorraine Friday would like Mitchell to keep quiet because Mitchell reminds the faithful and reminds him, Friday, that leadership matters. And Friday prefers this matter to be left alone. He don't want to be reminded about that. Not even Kent and Chan's effort in Eyewitness News, ostensibly in defense of Friday, is helping. In fact, it's making things worse. A leader with a learner's permit cannot drive the vehicle of state, particularly in challenging times. He will crash it. There is nothing inclusive or praiseworthy about that. A learner driving the political vehicle in these dangerous, challenging times is a threat to himself, to the country, and everybody around. So, an internally disunited party like the NDP cannot reasonably hope to find the people's favor. Electing a party in disunity is a grave risk to the welfare of the nation and its people. On the other hand, the profound unity of the ULP is compellingly reassuring to voters. You can go to sleep at night, put your head on your pillow, and say, boy, we got problems in the country. Girl, we got problems. But with Ralph and the ULP, I feel safe. I feel that whatever comes, with the grace of God and the effort of Ralph and the ULP, we will see things through. Now, what about the third related issue of the record of the respective parties? Let's look at them. Two broad political currents of relevance in the evolving political economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the period 1935 to 2020 have been these. First, the advance of the social democratic revolution, and secondly, a counter-revolution against this social democratic revolution. The social democratic revolution in modern St. Vincent and the Grenadines was ushered in consequent upon the anti-colonial uprising of October the 21st, 1935, under the leadership of George Augustus McIntosh, through the medium of the St. Vincent Working Men's Association, SVWA, up to 1951. And when we say a social democratic revolution, a revolution doesn't have to be a violent thing, you know. It's about change. Real fundamental change. Social democratic change. So it was ushered in after the anti-colonial uprising of October the 21st, 1935. Just the anniversary is nearly a month away. This social democratic revolution, through different phases and with different varying emphases, was consolidated and extended under the leadership of Ebenezer Theodore Joshua and his People's Political Party in the period 1952 to 1966. Then under the leadership of Robert Milton Cato and the St. Vincent Grenadines Labour Party, particularly in the period 1967 to 1984, and which social democratic revolution has been enhanced, deepened, and broadened under the leadership of Comrade Ralph and the Unity Labour Party.
I salute you, you're my hero, my role model.
2001 to the present time. Thus, the St. Vincent Working Men's Association, Joshua's PPP, Cato's Labour Party, and now the ULP constitute a continuum of an evolving social democratic revolution. And I say, despite the differences and contradictions at various times between leading personalities and organizations around the unfolding of this social democracy, we see that continuum, and the circumstances of history and the philosophical disposition of the respective leaders place all these political forces in the social democratic tradition, a tradition of change for the people, strengthening the social basis of the society, and doing so in a profoundly democratic manner.
Development in this country, leave the comfort alone. Secondary education becomes compulsory. Leave the comfort alone.
A counter-revolution to this, to the social democratic revolution, was unleashed in 1984 under James Mitchell's NDP and continued until March 28, 2001, when the NDP lost government. Since then, the NDP under Anim Eustace and very much so under Lorraine Friday has sought at every turn to undermine and hold back the social democratic revolution, which is being extended, deepened, and broadened under the ULP. I have fully documented in detail this analysis of the continuum of the social democratic revolution under McIntosh, Joshua, Cato, and myself, and the counter-revolution to social democracy by NDP under the Mitchell-Eustace Friday axis, documented in my book published last year, a book of over 350 pages entitled The Political Economy of the Labor Movement in St. Vincent and Grenadines. It's required reading. I recommend it. It is not that the NDP and Mitchell did nothing of merit in government. To say so would be untrue and unfair. It is that, however, fundamentally, the NDP under Mitchell never undertook the necessary and desirable task of remaking our country in the altered and altering circumstances of the regional and global economy. Mitchell's NDP sought to prop up the old colonial economy and society, the days of which were being numbered locally and globally. And at the same time, the NDP enmeshed itself in a servile relationship to monopoly capitalism and ideological neoliberalism led by Ronald Reagan of the United States of America and Margaret Thatcher of Britain. The irony of all this is that when the chips were down, both the Americans and the British abandoned Mitchell and small island developing states like St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the latter's quest for new areas of potential economic activity, such as international financial services. The Unity Labour Party government in March 2001 inherited an economy and society in shambles after 17 years of NDP governance. Out of a total population of 109,022, only 35,588 were actually working to maintain everybody else. Of the total population, 26% were indigent, dirt poor, and 38% were in a generalized condition of poverty. Only 1/5 of the 3 to 5-year-olds were at an early childhood center. Only 39% of the 12-year-olds were at secondary school. A handful were at community college, and less than a handful were at university. Under 70% of the households had electricity and water. There were hardly any mobile phones and no internet. Public assistance was $50 per month, and only a limited number of poor persons were put on public assistance, despite the huge poverty. There was no construction of low-income houses by the government. Very little building materials were gifted to the poor. Wages were very low. The public health system was wholly inadequate. Look, there was no collection and disposal of garbage outside the environs of Kingstown, you know. And the health system generally was woefully bad. The economy was at a dead end. Nothing was on the horizon to replace bananas, which were in sharp decline, save and except the ill-conceived golden calf of open sesame for a host of brigands in a poorly regulated offshore finance sector. On the governance front, by March 2001, when we came to office, St. Vincent and the Grenadines was becoming a pariah among civilized nations, and the NDP was making that so. The Financial Action Task Force and the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development placed a blacklist on St. Vincent and the Grenadines on account of its uncontrolled money laundering. The International Maritime Organization had a pending blacklist on St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The International Convention on the Conservation of Atlantic Tuna also had an impending blacklist to put on us. The Bank of America had cut off correspondent banking relations in December 2000 with the state-owned National Commercial Bank, putting that bank in severe jeopardy. The corrupt scheme at the Otley Hall shipyard had the government in $180 million in debt to a consortium of European banks. The British government refused debt relief to the NDP government under the Commonwealth Debt Initiative on account of the NDP government's failure to control money laundering, failure to regulate the vagabondry in the offshore finance sector and its links to official corruption, failure to stem the flow of trafficking in cocaine, and failure to arrest poverty and undernourishment. Parliament was infrequently summoned, and there were no broadcasts of its proceedings other than during budget week. The ULP had to clean up all this mess and more and put our country on a developmental path which families, all individuals, the whole society have benefited meaningfully.
Thank you, Rafi. This one is from me. The reason they hate you, I don't know.
A strategic mission of the which the ULP government embarked upon was the transformation of a vulnerable colonial single crop economy and society. Its people mired substantially in indigence and undernourishment, with a low material level of living and very limited educational opportunities, to transform that kind of economy and society into a more resilient, modern, competitive, many-sided post-colonial economy of highly improved standards of living, featuring education, training, science, and technology as central to the production apparatuses in the age of globalization. This socio-economic transformation is still underway, and much work is still to be done by the initiators of this desirable transformation. Who are those? Who is the initiators? The ULP. And the batsman at the crease, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. And there's really no doubt. We are the ones who are making the change. The NDP intends to undo for the worse all this transformative and hope-filled endeavor. The transformation of the economy and society required at least 6 bundles of major initiatives and investments immediately as we came to office. They had to be delivered. An educational revolution, a many-sided war on poverty, the bridge over the expansive Raboka Dry River to better link the Northeast with the rest of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, a jet airport in Canouan, an international airport at Argyle, and a thoroughgoing revolution in the delivery of ICT, information communications technology. The NDP was incapable of conceptualizing or delivering on any of them. Other transformative policies followed naturally and consequentially. Health and wellness revolution, the housing revolution, and the infrastructure revolution generally. So when we were elected to office in March 2001, we set about this transformation, which I say is still unfolding and consolidating. But it's unfolding and consolidating and deepening and broadening at a time of a most challenging external environment of deleterious climate change and health pandemics, including COVID-19. Amidst the turbulence and contradictions of monopoly capitalism and the marginalization of small island developing states from the design of the global political economy. Sensible people do not change a united progressive government which has delivered substantially to and for the people. Only reckless people do so, particularly in these challenging and turbulent external circumstances of today. And to replace us by whom? I've just told you what is their track record, how they're structured and the nature of their leadership, and the confusion in them. Look, every progressive initiative that the ULP took in government, what we have taken in government, and what we are taking to transform our economy and society onto a path of sustainable development. The NDP oppose, or always they have been seeking to derail, undermine, or conspire to make sure that they fail. Never see a thing like that since I born.
I labor of love, I labor with love, I labor to love, I labor me love, I labor of love,
You know, in this regard, the only thing a reasonable person can say that they want to derail all the progress which we have been making and undermine every progressive thing is pure wickedness, unpatriotic behavior, anti-people behavior. Now, they can hang on to us for power, for themselves and their financiers. The people have a take on that, you know. The progressive initiatives and measures designed by the ULP to transform our economy and society, which the NDP has opposed or critiqued mercilessly. Let us remind ourselves of some of them. They oppose the Argyle International Airport, the Canonjet Airport, the Rabica Bridge, the education revolution, the war against poverty, the health and wellness revolution, the housing revolution, the initiatives in hotel and tourism development, the modernization of agriculture and the fisheries sector, the building of a medical cannabis industry, the strengthening of workers' rights and benefits, the reclassification of public sector employees, the home help for the elderly program, the Yes and Set programs, the Prime program, the reform of the state administration, initiatives in citizen security, or program for the construction of roads, bridges, rivers, coastal defenses, our policies and programs for renewable energy, water, ICT and sanitation, the modern port project, the proposed city at Arnesvale, the acute referral hospital, the initiatives in sports and culture, including the development of the Arnesvale Sporting Complex and the $5 million track and field and football facility now being constructed at Diamond, which would evolve into a full-fledged national stadium. Our good governance measures, the COVID-19 measures, they got everything wrong about COVID-19. Our fiscal policy, our mature regionalism, and our efficacious foreign policy. All of these and more, the NDP has opposed us. It is incredible.
You're criminals, you're enemies of the state. Oh, yeah,
How foolish and backward we have had the NDP. In the principled and creative praxis, theory and practice of the ULP government. And this principled creative praxis, which has earned our country and our region immense prestige and success internationally, out of proportion to our size, population, and material resources. We have done remarkably here. It is this principled and creative praxis which has led our country to assume leadership positions internationally. For example, to the presidency of the Economic and Social Council, the principal developmental oversight organ of the United Nations, and then to a highly coveted non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council, the highest decision-making body globally, addressing centrally war and peace. Now, it is important for us to recall that the NDP derided and opposed our 10-year campaign for a permanent, non-permanent seat on the Security Council. It's important that I remind you of this. And I want to go through some of it. So you may join me in saying that is wickedness on their part, anti-national and anti-people behavior. Throughout our campaign.
We are but a tiny dot. We don't tell all our we ain't better than nobody.
For the Security Council seat. The way the NDP assailed our campaign, they assailed it as ill-advised, unattainable, pie-in-the-sky romanticism. They say that is designed to fool only the gullible and to stoke Ralph's ego. Everything is always about Ralph. The NDP's initial response was to declare happily and smugly that there is no way that it is going to happen because China would veto it at the Security Council. The NDP did not even realize, did not check, did not seek advice about the process for the election to the Security Council. They were talking in the most ignorant way, and they were talking about it in such an assured manner. They simply did not know that the election of a non-permanent member to the UN Security Council was done by 2/3 of the UN General Assembly, by the member states in that assembly, the 193 member states. And you had to get 2/3. And that was not subject to a veto by any country. But the NDP, in their ignorance, they were happy to sit back and hope mistakenly that their new friend mainland China would do their dirty job against sweet SVG, which has been put up as a CARICOM candidate. It is me, Comrade Ralph, who had to go on the radio and educate the NDP about the process and procedure for the election. When they found that out, they then turned nasty on the matter. They got a ruling party in another CARICOM country with which they had links historically, close links. They got them and prompted that government to stall us. Because remember, we go in as a CARICOM candidate. But God is good. In a short period of time, the electorate of that country took care of that party, and one of our friends got elected to form the government instead. One ridiculous argument which the NDP proffered in its anti-social, in its anti-national subversion of our quest for a seat on the Security Council, that we were a stalking horse for Venezuela and Cuba. Not even the pro-American group of countries, the Lima group, paid that any mind. At every turn, they sought, in whatever little way they could, to undermine our efforts. Now, on the morning of Friday, June the 7th, 2019, last year, you remember the whole world, the whole of St. Vincent and Grenadines, Vincentians at home and abroad, they logged in. We wanted to see and hear the proceedings and at the General Assembly, and they were so happy. They heard that St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the smallest nation ever, was elected to a non-permanent seat at the Security Council in a competitive election. SVG got 185 votes, El Salvador 6, 2 abstentions. Pride and joy erupted all over St. Vincent and the Grenadines and among Vincentians everywhere. I will never forget that day. I was sitting with our delegation in the cavernous hall of the United Nations General Assembly. I felt humbled by the overwhelming support of the international community and by the awesome responsibility that was now upon us as a small Caribbean nation. Deep emotions naturally engulfed me. Involuntarily, tears came down my eyes. I swiftly composed myself and stood up and began to receive in person heartfelt congratulations from a multitude of nations, large and small, across the world. It took the NDP 48 hours, more than 48 hours, in the late afternoon of Sunday, June the 9th, to issue a statement with which they merely joined Vincentians in the expression of joy, of pride at our country's election. Mealy-mouthed statement. They couldn't bring themselves to congratulate the ULP, government, and Comrade Ralph on this monumental achievement for our country. They expressed no remorse for opposing us every step of the way during our illustrious and historic campaign. No, without any shame whatsoever, the NDP are asking Vincentians to elect them to office, and in the process, thus permit them to sit with their team, including backward elements of the petty bourgeoisie and some of the internet crazies, for the second year, starting January the 1st next year, ending in December. They who oppose us want now to go and take their own people and sit there to represent St. Vincent and Grenadines. That's what they're asking people for in this election too, you know. Well, I cannot conceive that Vincentian would so shame our nation before the international community. It is unthinkable. The potential consequences of this actually happening are horrendous for our country. So our splendid record of performance and delivery for our people in the national, regional, and international spheres are well documented.
What the NDP is interested in is commerce and melee. You could lick me up, you knock me down, I get up back. I'm a hard man for that. After this, them dead.
I want to say to us, all of us, that when we look at the philosophy, the vision, philosophy, policies, and programs on our record, you look at our leadership and you look at the 15 candidates, all of them are very high quality. And 4 of them are under 40 years of age, and 5 are in their 40s, and 4 are between their 50s and 60s. I'm the oldest one. The ancient warrior, 74, and my back broad. My back very broad. I've been beaten on the anvil of experience and forged in the cauldron of struggle. I'm hard.
My back broad, but I tell you this, I'm an ancient warrior. My back broad. Tell Major, my back broad. Go across the border. My back broad.
Man for dead. You could lick me up, you could knock me down. I get up. I'm a hard man for dead. If you look at the ULP, you see our love. The NDP, you see hatred and anger. In our functioning is love for and love of the people, in general and in particular. I reassure yet again the people of our country that our love is an ever-fixed mark that looks on tempests and is never shaken. We in the ULP know that even if we have faith that can move mountains but have not love, we are nothing. We in the ULP accept the teaching that love is patient. It is kind. It is not envious. It is not self-seeking. It keeps no record of wrongs. It is not easily angered. Our love rejoices in the truth. Our love is trusting. It protects. It always perseveres. And it always hopes. We have faith, we have hope, and we have love. We know the greatest of these qualities is love. And in our case, labor love. We plan, we keep a little oil in our lamp. We keep it burning till the break of day. We make sure that everyone's talents develop to the fullest. And if you happen to run into problems on the dangerous road to Jericho, if something bad happens to you, if metaphorically you are robbed, we are there like the Good Samaritan who love you dearly, to clean your wounds, to bind them up, to take you to the inn. We will give you building materials. We'll help you to build your own house and educate your family and children. Because at some time or the other, we find ourselves on the dangerous road to Jericho, in our life and in our living. I'm not giving you hate. I'm not giving you anger. The teachings, these fundamental teachings about love and caring and good neighborliness, they come from the wellspring of our salvation and from right reason, and they come from faith and hope, and above all, this bountiful labor love. In this campaign, we're proceeding in a clean and focused manner, not cursing anybody. We're doing so with clarity, with honesty, and substance in the uplifting style of our Caribbean civilization, our Vincentian civilization. And we're doing so with beautiful music and lyrics and piquant and persuasiveness and policies and programs. And I want to thank the huge number of cultural artists and performers who are lending joyous support for 5 in a row. As I leave you tonight, ponder on everything that I've said. I want you to remember above all else that labor loves you dearly. And my love for you, the people of this country, is a never fixed mark that looks and tempests and is never shaken. We keep no tally of wrongs. We love because it is our nature. It is our philosophy. It is our bond. The Labour family has been showing me signs over the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that you're taking seriously what I'm telling you. Leave the grumblers alone. Let's sort those out after. You must re-elect Comrade Ralph and the Unity Labour Party. 5 in a row. Thank you, good night, and may Almighty God continue to bless us all.
As the political leader of the Unity Labour Party and Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonzalez. Ring the bell there for me, Julian. Luther say ring the bell.
From behind the podium.
We want to thank all those of you who participated in tonight's meeting from the various places where you are, and we do look forward to being with you at another time that will be announced. This evening, we just want to be grateful to Almighty God that all went well and all went smooth. We want to wish, I need that part. All right. They hear you from down there? Second preliminary zone 2 is one night? Sunday night. Yes, and North Leeward is Friday night. All right. Yep. Well, here what is happening too. I know if you miss it, Julian, but, yeah. You see down in the Southern Grenadines, we're going to have a nice weekend. Yeah. Friday night. We have a red lime Friday night. And we still have another lime on Saturday night. We have a double. We are 2 in 1. But let's offer to Almighty God. Stevenson will say that they call it the doxology. I just do it in part. We just stand and say, may the saving grace of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit rest and abide with us all, now and forevermore. And please take us to our several homes of abode and safely. Good night and God bless.